the fact that it was a big jump for him. So you got to think that way for all these guys. And can they hit on one? Absolutely. Is that what AJ Preller does? He finds a diamond in the rough. Absolutely, we know he does that. But you don't want to. You got to be careful with that too. Unless it's something like, maybe they look at it like, hey, we've got to get through these first few months. We got to get to the trade deadline. We got to then maybe shift some stuff around at the trade deadline and make that push at the end of the season. Maybe he feels like that recipe where they did not have the bullpen in 2024 until the trade deadline that would have gotten them to the playoffs. Maybe that's a recipe that he's willing to take a few risks on.
Well, the guys that he's not willing to expose were Ryan Bergert, Henry Baez, and Omar Cruz. And if we ever learn that they're any good, we'll find out. Bergert's the guy we talked about before. He did not pitch well last year, but they're not going to give up on him. So those kids they were placed on the 40-man, which brought us from 34 to 37 on the 40-man. And that means there's still 3 slots open.
3 slots open, and
Who knows?
Essentially he can't move them off the 40-man now, right? Unless another team can pick that guy up.
Maybe we're holding one of those spots for you, Roki. We've got a spot, and we've got a flower, and we've got anything you want. Come on to San Diego. Little bit of a quick baseball update for you. And again, coming up at 11, we're going to get into baseball once again with our Padres performance review for center field. Get to have a fun chance to chat through Jackson Merrill's year and some of the things that could happen in year 2 for Jackson Merrill. Plus, Baseball America did something silly. We'll talk about that at 11 as well. But up next, after this quick timeout on Annie and Elsten, it was the game of the year in the NBA. It was entertaining and had a satisfying conclusion. And yet, it left not just me, but a lot of the NBA folks I'm following wondering, like, is this great? Is this great basketball? It's great basketball. It's winning basketball, but is it good? It's great, but is it good? Is kind of the answer that we're going to have to drive for. Talking about Boston and its 3-point barrage on the National Basketball Association. We'll talk about it after this. Andy and Elsten underway. San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. 1026 on the Fan. It's Annie and Elsten here with you. We're going to come up with Brian Quinn in our next segment, head coach of USD Torero's men's soccer program. Shine a little light on a program that's been as high as third ranked in the nation this year. And yet, with one loss at home to Portland, just their second loss of the entire season, it dropped them out of a first-round bye, which was pretty surprising. They won the West Coast Conference fairly easily, but dropped down to the spot where they have to play in the first round. 16 teams get a bye.
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
They were number 3 in the country at one point. Now they're outside the 16 because they lost to Portland, who was the best team in the West Coast Conference last year that USD upset. So
but RPI apparently was not happy with the metrics of USD.
Not happy about it. I mean, they tied Duke, who they're going to have to play if they win.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's like so, and Duke struggled on the West Coast when they started the season. I think they lost to Cal Baptist or tied Cal Baptist too, or something like that too. Sorry. California Baptist.
This is the info you get when you've got a guy who does some USD soccer
that calls the games
on the show,
especially with the what do we want to be properly called in the game notes?
Yes,
California Baptist.
Has it been fun for you, Braden, to call these games though? The success that they've been having.
This team is pretty good. I have been fortunate enough to call the last 3 seasons of Torero soccer, and each season it just has gotten progressively better. And now they're getting a lot of transfers in with USD like being good. I mean, Brian Quinn and company are doing a great job of getting transfers, and the teams that do the best at the University of San Diego are the teams that know how to recruit transfers. Brock Ungrich with the baseball team gets a bunch of players to come play for him in the transfer portal, as well as does a good job with the youth. Jennifer Petrie with volleyball does a great job recruiting the transfer portal. They're one of the marquee programs at USD. In the last couple of years, it's been the University of San Diego's men's soccer team that has been legit at bringing in those extra pieces in the transfer portal with experienced veteran players from bigger, power conferences that have really made a major impact with their team. Those are the 3 best programs on campus right now.
Well, looking forward to talking to Quinny momentarily. 5-6 minutes here on the NBA before we take our next break. And last night was I'd say the first, fledgling season, right? We're 15, 16 games into it. NBA Cup's into its 3rd game of group play. So, we're not even approaching Thanksgiving, never mind Christmas yet. So it's early on, but it was our early season game of the year with Cleveland 15-0, just the 4th team ever to get to 15-0, going into Boston, taking on the Celtics, the defending champs who were 11-3 themselves, and an NBA Cup game on top of it. So battle for the top of their group, and Boston wins 120-117. Celtics remain the scariest team in the NBA. And with their championship pedigree now, they're definitely the team to beat. So I thought it was interesting as I was watching this game and then kind of touring all the NBA follows I've got on Blue Sky and whatnot to see so many people going like, you know what? Missoula ball is just not for me. Missoula is Joe Missoula, the head coach of Boston, who has taken the analytics side of basketball and ratcheted it up to 10. And just said, okay, if this is the ideal for the most efficient way to score, what if we just did that? And what that means is 3-pointers and plays at the rim. And that's it. Either a 3 or a dunk layup at the rim. Ignore all other shots, mid-range shots, contested shots in the lane, all of those shots gone because you don't hit enough of them and they're only worth 2. You can hit it almost the same percentage shooting a 3 and then you get an extra point. So Boston last night once again gunned a team off the floor by finishing with 13 more threes made than Cleveland. And that's a 39-point advantage, right? 13 more threes. And yet they won by 3 points. But those 39 points mattered, right? That's how they won it. They won by 3 points. On the season, I looked all this up today. I went through the NBA team statistics to make sure I had the right numbers. On the season, Boston is averaging 90 field goal attempts per game, which is close to the top of the league, but not the most, but it's close. 50 of their 90 shots every game are 3-pointers. 50. That used to be maybe the crazy aberration 1-game single high for one team. That's their average. That's 56% of their actual shots. They shoot more threes than twos. So this is a new style of basketball that no one's really watched at any length or at any elite level before, where the practice of that, when you hear that, okay, what does that look like? It looks like guards driving to the rim, seemingly ready to shoot, kick it out, kick it to the corner, swing,
Right.
three-pointer. You know, if that's offensive rebounded, kick it back out, swing, three-pointer. Dribble drive plays way out beyond the arc so that it sets up an open three-pointer. Very little attacking of the rim. It's a very different looking style of basketball. But the math works for the Celtics. They're shooting 6 more threes per game than the next highest team. They average 15 more threes per game than their opponent, game by game. Every game they shoot 15 more threes than their opponent. So as a result, every game on average they make 7 more threes than their opponent. And that's 21 points that they have on the plus side of the column that they get to build their whole win condition around. Like, we're already up 20 because we're going to hit 7 more threes than our opponent. So what do we have to do to fill in the rest of the game so that we don't lose the rest of the game by 22? And then we win all the time.
Seems like a good strategy to win a game.
It is. It makes all the sense in the world. They're executing it at the highest level. And yet, when you watch it, it doesn't look like the basketball that we've all grown up loving as a sport, because it's so aberrant to see 5 guys camped out behind the line, very almost no post press. And it's not to say Jaylen Brown doesn't drive to the rim, because again, they shoot 40 inside and almost all of them are going to be at the rim. That's their idea. 3 or rim. That's it. And the purity of it, on one level, if you're a complete basketball nerd, you can appreciate it for the purity of it. But the aesthetic for the common viewer is a little bit rough. And I personally have found it not my most entertaining basketball to watch. So I guess the big question is it bad to have a great system that kind of breaks the game a little bit?
I mean, I don't think so. If you're winning games and you're successful with it and you have the players to be able to execute it, I wonder if it will bite them at some point. Like, I wonder if there will just be some kind of point where I'm not exactly even sure how, but like a point where it just doesn't have the same return that it has now.
You just have a game where you don't hit
exactly.
at all.
You would have to, I mean, and at that point, do you start changing a strategy or do you just chalk that up to a bad game? And I don't know, but I don't think so. I mean, if you're winning games and they're not doing anything illegal, I'm not sure about the aesthetic, because if you're a fan, yeah, maybe the aesthetic suffers a little, but you're also happy your team is putting up points and winning and draining threes.
Oh, Nate in the chat says, well, if the Lakers could do it, would you mind? Well, hey, under J.J. Redick, guess what? The Lakers are scoring at a higher level. They're more efficient, and they're shooting more threes than they ever have. But they still do have Anthony Davis, a amazing post presence that they build kind of their offense around.
Yeah.
And they focus, and that's an inside player and points in the paint. So it's, again, I don't even know that there's anything to be said other than good for you, Joe. You've money-balled basketball to a spot, but it's changed an aesthetic that's hard to adjust to.
Do you think a lot of other teams will follow?
Oh, they are.
Yeah.
They're already. But Boston's taking it to a new level. All right, we got to get to a break because Brian Quinn is standing by, good friend and head coach of the UST men's team tomorrow night. They put it all on the line at home. You can go support him at Torero Stadium. We're going to talk to him next on The Fan. 1040 on the Fan. This is absolutely a privilege. Annie and Elsten back with you here on 97.3 The Fan. And out on the 97.3 The Fan hotline right now, we welcome in one of the legends of our city. He is the head coach of USD men's soccer. They have won 3 straight WCC championships. Tomorrow night, they run out on the pitch at Toreros Stadium, hosting UC Davis, looking to pick up an NCAA tournament win. Before that, long before that, San Diego Soccer's legend, Brian Quinn, joining us now on the hotline. Brian, Craig, and Annie here with you. Thank you so much for some time here the day before a big game. Really appreciate it.
Sounds good, Craig. Let's talk some football.
Let's do it. Well, hey, 3 straight WCC championships. You clinched that with a 1-0 win over Loyola Marymount. 13-2-2 on the season. It's one thing to be a successful team, to win 13 out of 17. What has marked this Toreros club as special?
Yeah, I think the win up in LMU was indicative of how the team has played. We've been really, really good, Craig, defensively. We've won a lot of close games, 1-0. And if you look at our record, we're unbeaten on the road. So we were 7-0 on the road this year. So that's the first step. And then the second part is I think it's a collection of good players over the last 3 years that have just kept us rolling.
Well, I mean, just to follow up there, Quinny, a little bit, for a three-peat there as West Coast Conference champions, what have been the key factors or strategies that have allowed you to build the program year after year and that have contributed to the success just continuing to improve every year?
I think, Annie, if you look back 3 years ago, we'd had a really, really bad season the year before, and then we brought in new players. And I think the catalyst for us in regards to being successful was the guys that we kept were really good leaders. And so they knuckled down, and we were picked that first season 3 years ago to finish 7th in the conference. We surprised everyone. And then that group returned last year, and then they done it back to back. So this year we brought in new players. But I think what has been the constant has been the guys who have been here, they understand what's required and what the level of play is, number one, and then they take responsibility for their, what they do on and off the field. So we push the kids hard, but they enjoy every aspect of being a college athlete.
What are the lessons that you feel are going to prime this club to get a victory tomorrow night against UC Davis? It's great to make the tournament. You guys want to get this dub, get on a flight to Duke.
Yep. I think, Craig, our experience, number one, if you look back 3 years ago, we made a tournament, we went to Denver, lost in overtime, close game, and then last year we hosted Cal Baptist, and then lost another close game in penalty kicks. So those 2 experiences with the guys we have left, I think it's going to hold us in good stead. And then the second part is, for me, is that you can't ask for anything else other than a home game, because every time we've had an important game here, we've had fans come out and support us. So I'm looking forward to that.
St. Augustine product, Jack Sandmeyer, he's been a big contributor. What has he brought to the team, as well as some other guys who have been instrumental in this success?
Again, he's been a major surprise because he started off at Davis and then didn't play and then transferred into the school just for educational purposes. We had him out in the spring and he was sensational. And he's brought like a physical dimension to our team, number one. And then secondly, as a midfield player, he's got an incredible range of covering ground and connecting passes, and is always a threat and corner kick. So he's been a big, big plus for us.
Quinny, you were always a leader as a player. You've always had a passion for coaching. How have you felt on a personal level that your career ambitions have aligned with where you've wound up being here at USD as the men's soccer head coach and leading this program? Yeah.
If I look back, Craig, I coached the soccer professionally indoor, and then I had a stint in MLS with San Jose, and I probably could have stayed on that track. But there was no team in San Diego 20 years ago. So it was a major decision for me to decide, what did I want to do? Did I want to chase the MLS dream and be a head coach there again, or live in one of the best cities in the world and then keep coaching? And that's what I done. And I was fortunate that Seamus, who had been the previous head coach, invited me on the staff. And as you know, I mean, this school's got a special place within San Diego in regards to its educational and its mission. So, for me, it just fits like a glove. So I'm happy to be here, and this is my 18th year.
I mean, that's amazing, Quinny. And you talked about the home games. What is the atmosphere like out at Torero Park? What can people look forward to?
I think what's happening at USD is our staff have really gravitated towards the soccer team, and they're putting on promotions, and we get the mascot out, we get the dance team out. We invite the local soccer community out. We have little kids walk on the field with our team, and just the whole atmosphere is a positive atmosphere, number one. And then I think more so than I've ever seen is our student bodies coming out in droves now, Annie. So there's a real uplifting feeling being around Torero Stadium.
Brian, before we let you go, I had the opportunity, last month, right, to see you lace them up again, because it was USA versus Mexico, the first indoor match up at Front Wave Arena. You were part of Team USA. You were out there. The fans absolutely loved to see you play, and I didn't get to chat with you afterwards, so I'm just very curious as to what you took away from the experience, maybe how the recovery was afterwards. How'd it go?
Yeah, first of all, I want to thank Phil Salvaggio for inviting me out. And then second, I'd like your listeners to know that he pulled the old trick play on me, where, Craig, I thought when I got the invite it was an alumni/old-timers game. And I see these 28, 29-year-old, 30-year-old guys, and I said, thanks a lot, Phil. I'm really impressed with how you pulled that off. But I went out and enjoyed it. It was fun. And just, again, thank Phil for the experience. The first game ever at Front Wave Arena, so it was fantastic.
Great stuff. I know you still got the legs. You probably were completely spry the next day, right? No worries?
Too funny.
Quinny, it's a blast having you on, man. Best of luck. I want to make it out there tomorrow night to see you guys roll against UC Davis, and hopefully it's on to Duke and onward and upward. But I wanted to shine some light on the program. Incredible job that you guys have done this season, and let's keep it rolling. Thank you so much for some time this morning.
Thanks, Craig, and Annie knows best, don't you, Annie?
Always, Quinny, and thank you very much. Yeah, really,
right.
really excited for you guys, and good luck tomorrow.
Thanks, appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Quinny.
There he goes. The great Brian Quinn.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious, if we would have had some time, like what his take is on soccer, the state of soccer, with the NWSL and the popularity that it's had, and MLS coming to San Diego, just more people being interested in soccer, and obviously he has experience with the San Diego Sockers, but so much experience coaching throughout his career, and kids are so different these days too, and how that's evolved. So, but he's been able to relate and keep his teams continuing to improve and have more success. So pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's just great to see where the program is and what he's been able to accomplish and to do it at University of San Diego. But still, men's soccer is one of those places that's not dominated by name, image, and likeness and the almighty dollar and, who has the national rights and everything else. That's kind of taken the top level of football and men's basketball and just put it into this weird, inexplicable zone. I mean, there's such a purity to me to see something like this and to know that, and listen, Brian will tell you that there are other more well-funded programs that he's going against, in this bracket that are the heavyweights, like a Duke, and so on and so forth. But nonetheless, it's just really cool to see what he's able to do and how he's been able to put it together. And now to have sustained success. And Braden, you call the games all the time, as you were saying. So, you've seen how this club has improved and become not just a quality opponent, but now somebody that other teams are losing to on a regular basis.
100%. Yeah, I've watched the transition that he was talking about from that first year, where it's basically the first year I was doing games for USD men's soccer was the 4 years ago when they were just kind of hanging around with teams but couldn't really finish, and then you saw them really go on a little bit of a run in that 3 years ago when they ended up winning their first West Coast Conference championship in a while, and they needed a lot of things to go their way. for that to happen. And then, last year their team was really good, had a lot of veteran leadership, and then they returned a lot of said players. And some of the players that they had, like Mason Tunbridge, that was from London, that was one of the best players on the team. They were able to go facilitate grabbing other players in the transfer portal that have really made an impact. And they got a lot of good local players. I think they got like 3 or 4 St. Augustine Saintsmen on the team, mixed with some good talent on the West Coast, some good international players that they have gotten, and good players from the transfer portal. And they have made it a place to be. The environment's actually really good. It's a really good environment for soccer. At USD, they put everybody on one side for their soccer matches. So it's on the side with the press box, which would be the opposite side of what you see on television. Nobody's allowed to sit on the other side. So it really gives that like full force where you have one side, really full. And he's not lying. I mean, the students come out and they make it a big deal, and and they get a lot of good youth soccer programs to bring their kids out to watch and support. And that's the cool thing about college athletics is, nowadays with it being so expensive to go to professional sporting events, you can take your kids to college events, and there's so many more sports in college that, your kids currently play that we might not even have professional teams for. So it's
a
good
lot of interaction.
Yeah, it's a lot more close up and personal. You get to see a good product. So it's not just for men's soccer for USD, but all of the sports at USD and UCSD and San Diego State. If your kid plays a certain sport that is played at the college level, go to the local colleges. You'll get some serious inside access, and your kids will love it. And they'll feel like those players are professional players playing in a stadium, just as much as they would if they went to an MLS.
You're so
That's
right.
a great point. One thing I love about Quinny, too, that man never runs out of energy.
No.
I mean, it's like he's got energy like a 21-year-old. You're around him and you're just like, it's infectious.
I think it's hilarious that Phil Baton switched him. Told him it was an alumni. Oh, don't worry, you're going to be out there with the
alumni game.
alumni.
That's right.
Yeah,
You'll be
no problem.
fine.
Then he runs out. It's like actually the whole soccer's roster who's out there running. Just go ahead, Quinny. Come on out to training, buddy. No problem.
I don't know how much.
But it went well, right?
Yeah, it went fine. Yeah.
I don't know how much the tickets are for the NCAA tournament, but I do know that USD does some really good deals with their men's soccer team. I think it costs $1 to get in for the regular season. I mean, it's super inexpensive to take your kid and your family, and adults. They do have beer, so it's not like you're going to like a youth event. Even though I know a lot of you do it with red Solo cups, but they do have. They do have a blonde. They got a Torero blonde and a Torero IPA that is in conjunction with a local brewery that they have at USD games.
Yeah.
So you still get to enjoy it. It's a lot more laid back experience than taking your kids to a major professional sporting event that they might not fully appreciate yet. And it doesn't cost you a lot. Parking's free in the structure for these sporting events as well. So should be a fun time tomorrow night. And if you're going to go to the soccer game tomorrow, get there early because there's going to be 2 events going on at USD at the exact same time. You got women's volleyball is playing in the Jenny Craig Pavilion, which is right next to the NCAA tournament game that will be happening at Torero Stadium. And usually you could go from back and forth once you get in to the little courtyard they have there in the middle. So I don't know what type of deals they're doing for tickets. I didn't see, but there will be multiple events going on at one time tomorrow. So if you want to take your kids out to watch some men's soccer and NCAA tournament, it's going to be great. But also you got women's volleyball as well. Should be a fun time at USD tomorrow.
Great little report right there. Appreciate Brian Quinn from coming along and joining us here on the show. 1 hour down on Annie and Elsten. When we come back to baseball, time to bring Jackson Merrill in the office for his 2024 performance review, and we'll expand to center field overall. He's the center fielder of the present. Is he the center fielder of the future, or could it be someone else? We'll talk about it when we come back. Baseball coverage on 97.3 The Fan is presented by T-Mobile. Head to T-Mobile.com and get a great deal on an iPhone 16 Pro. Welcome back. Oh, it's a double Annie. Just stick with that, huh?
Double Annie Wednesdays.
Double Annie Wednesdays, Clock Integrity Mondays.
This is one of the days that Annie doesn't complain about. It's Thursday. It's Friday.
That's such a
it's
great
Monday.
point.
Wednesday, she's
This
firing
is her
on full-
wheelhouse.
She has had enough of Below Deck and other eyewash shows. She is
Because Wednesdays, I
ready
feel like
to go.
I've hit a good rhythm.
Yeah,
and then once
that's
it hits
right.
Thursday, I'm already on the
Oh.
other side, going back downhill, getting to the weekend. Wednesday, it's like I've had 2 days to warm up.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. I feel you guys. You
Yeah.
know me well now.
That's right.
Match game coming up later
That's
today.
right. Match game Wednesday.
Perfect.
I know we got no eyewash shows on because we would have been told about them.
Well, now I also realize that MLB Network has made some buyouts available
we're gonna
and
talk
seem
about
to be
this
cutting.
later.
We'll talk about it later. So I think that our eyewash is going to be stuck to like ESPN from now on.
Yeah,
Oh,
I think
no.
all these wonderful,
watch shows.
very old shows that MLB Network has been running.
There's
it's
a
going to be
reason
what
for
they're going to be
that.
running
Yeah.
for a while because everyone's gone. Goodbye, Greg Amsinger.
I don't
Goodbye,
know if they're
Harold
all
Reynolds.
gone, but they're definitely being asked if they'd like to get the buyout or they're being cut in programming. So we'll get to all that later in the show.
They
we will
just
indeed.
hired a bunch of people like last year and the year before that.
Yeah.
Those were different times, different plans.
And then they made
Life
bad
comes at you fast.
And then they made bad shows and then people stopped watching and then they went, what happened?
I
Interesting.
I will be sad on some very small level next year if we don't get to see each day whether Lauren Gardner gets the wiffle ball bat that
I
day
know.
or doesn't get the wiffle ball bat. The various outfits.
I mean, yeah, look, I feel bad for anyone who is put in a position where they have to take there's a what they quote voluntary buyouts, which means that layoffs are coming if not enough people take the buyouts. So never wish that on anyone for their jobs to be in jeopardy. But we'll get to it later. It's clear that they are changing or they're going to be forced to look at some of their programming. And also you kind of hate it for the sport. I mean, this is supposed to be the network. And we saw this happen with NFL Network too. Maybe not on the same level because NFL Network has so much programming and so many people that are out at all the games. But it's never a good sign for sports in general.
Indeed, it is not. We are talking baseball. I had to run around the whole Odyssey Palace during our break, Annie, to finally find a coffee cup because there are none.
I really think you need to bring your own coffee cup.
Do you think?
I do. I mean, if you're
got-
taking someone else's cup and washing it out, what's the difference
I'm
between
taking
bringing
the
your own
company.
cup?
Well, okay, true, because I could lose it. I could, forget it.
Maybe we could get you a cup for Christmas or something. It's you go to Ross, you get like a $6 cup.
I get it. It's just that's the whole point of the Palace is that it comes with cups and a very nice coffee maker. Like they've got good coffee, makes good coffee, makes it fast.
They actually do. They do have really good coffee.
Who do you need to talk to about this? Like, where are the cups going? Where's the cup thievery happening?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I mean,
I think
today
it's somewhere in the sales area, personally.
probably. If we went around sales desks, we might find coffee cups.
With like coffee from like 2 weeks ago.
Right? But I mean, this isn't the first time this happened. So our beloved boss, Adam, told me, weeks ago, I always have two on my desk. And, there's the one he uses and then there's the other one. And I can use that if I want. So
there you go.
So I went over there. There was no coffee cups. Went all the way across the building to Adam's desk.
Which is like 10 steps.
It's
Maybe like 20,
at least
okay?
20, at least 20. Got the cup and then went all the way back and then got the coffee and got back in time. But I say that just
made
to
it sound like
show
you work
you,
at the Pentagon or something.
just to show you, the listener, the cup that Adam has left for me. It is the classic pre-2020.
Oh, it's the blue.
The navy blue and the white color
Yep.
scheme for the Padres Radio Network 97.3 The
nice,
Fan.
It's a nice cup. I will say it's a nice mug.
But it's also kind of I think a pleasant reminder of the bad old days.
When I see highlights now from the Blue Days, it takes me a second. I'm like, which team is that? And then I'm like, oh wait, that's the Padres.
Yeah.
It's jarring to see the blue uniforms.
Isn't
now.
it?
Yeah.
Easily the worst uniform
I'm like, is that the
Padres have
Brewers?
ever had.
They were the worst. The ones at Petco Park with the
Yeah.
blue, the mid 2000 mid
The
2010s.
Will Venable type
Yes.
blue.
Yes.
Christinorfia.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Yeah, the alternate blue. I mean, they were just so basic. There were no other colars. It was just blue and white. You have to have.
Yeah.
You have
It
to
was
have
like
two
navy
colors
top, white bottom.
and white. You have the colors and white and black.
Yeah.
Those need to be you can't have white or black be your second color. It makes the uniforms terrible, and that's what they were for a
Unless
long
you're the
time.
Yankees, then you can just be black and
Yeah,
white.
but they're traditional.
Yeah, exactly.
They have traditional pinstripes. They get the Tiffany and Company logo.
and
They've
that's
never
why they're the
changed it.
Yankees, right?
I mean, even the Dodgers have red numbers.
Yeah.
To mix it up.
Yes, yes.
And if we were doing previous center field performance reviews, we might have been talking in the blue and white days, right? We might have been talking about Will Myers, Travis Jankowski.
Oh, who's still went on to a World Series champion ring.
He's got a ring.
Well, it's a World Series ring.
He's got a ring. Chris Norfia.
It's a hunk of metal, according to the commissioner.
Think about the blue and white Padres center fielders that we could have reviewed. Now, let me take you to a much better time. Brown and gold. I don't have another cup to replace the one I'm drinking from with, but our 2024 center field performance review for the San Diego Padres is one Jackson Merrill. He's no Jankowski. He's no B.J. Upton. He's no Trent Grisham.
Was center field just like shortstop for the Padres, where it seemed like there was a brand new starting center fielder every single year?
For a while. Yeah.
I think so.
I mean, I'm trying to think who actually stuck in center in between Steve Finley and Jackson Merrill.
You had a Jay Payton year. You had a Mike Cameron year.
Yeah,
you had a
right.
Dave Roberts year.
Right,
You had, I mean,
yes.
there's just so many different. In fact, I mean, you could pull up the page on Baseball Reference, starting center fielders. I mean, before, Margot was it for 3 years in a row.
Right? We thought he could be something.
You had, it was Jankowski.
That's
it was
the ultimate white and blue center fielder is Margot, I think.
Jankowski, Upton, Cameron Maben, Alexi Amarista started the most games in center field
And
in
then went to more
2023.
blue with the Rays.
More Maben, Tony Gwynn Jr., Jody Garrett, Mike Cameron, Dave Roberts, Jay Payton, and then Mark Kotze, 2001 to 2003.
Yeah.
Ruben Rivera, 99 and 2000, and then you got Finley, who was the
And
four
then
straight
Finley.
years.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then
yeah.
you go Margot, Grisham, and then now Merrill.
It's not exactly a cavalcade of success, that group. And Jackson Merrill really stands out. In fact, I'd rate him over every single player on that list, including Finley, based on his 1 year. Understanding that Finley did it for years and years.
Yeah.
Well, based
So-
on WAR, he has the best WAR of any center fielder for the Padres that started since 2000, tied with one other.
Tied with one other.
Yeah, one other had a 4.4.
Ooh.
How about that?
So a center fielder in the 21st century for the Padres that put up a 4.4 WAR season.
Yes, that was in his first year starting in center field for the Padres. In his second year, he had a 3.2.
Gosh, I would have guessed Cameron because I feel like he was the most successful of that group, but am I wrong?
Mike Cameron,
It is
Hey.
Cameron.
4.4
Okay.
WAR in 141 games in 2006.
All right.
Padres went 88 and 74.
Hard to sneak that fastball past me.
That's right.
You were ready for it.
I was ready.
Yes.
I was ready. I mean, of that
That's-
grouping, Cameron's the one who would put up a 4 WAR season. And he had a good year for the Padres. I remember that.
Oh, Maben also had a 4.4 WAR. year,
Wow.
2011.
2011. And that's the year he got the giant contract.
I think so. He had a 4.4 WAR in 136 games. Other center fielders that year were Denorfia, Venable, Patterson, Takoti, and Hunter.
Patterson.
I don't even know what that is.
Takoti?
Tekotte.
Blake Takoti. I remember him.
Takoti. He played
I remember
7
Blake
games
Takoti.
in
I
center
do not
field. He had a
remember.
negative 0.6 WAR in those 7 games.
Solid work. That's hard to be that bad. I mean, you're really hurting HTB and out there if you're
Pepperidge Farm remembers Padres center fielders.
That's kind of a fun transition. I mean, but listen, hey, I think that's actually a good precursor for the later part of this discussion, which is where's Jackson Merrill's ultimate future for the team? As we just heard, center field, he could become the best center fielder in Padres history pretty quickly.
Yes.
Just by sticking around through the course of his rookie deal, Annie. I mean, honestly, if he just stuck out there for 6 years, he'd be the best Padres center fielder ever.
Yeah, I think that he's well on his way. We sat here in February, like many other people all around baseball, going, what is this experiment with Jackson Merrill going to be like? How is he going to make that transition from shortstop to outfield? Only had 200 minor league games under his belt, never played above Double-A. And now we sit here talking about how Jackson Merrill could be one of the best franchise center fielders, or the best for the Padres in their history. So what a year he's had, and we're going to get into all the numbers. But, I mean, he really took the baseball world by storm. He took fans by storm, and he showed throughout the entire course of a season that he was ready for this opportunity.
In his entire 200-game minor league career, Jackson Merrill hit .295 with a .347 on-base percentage and a .455 slugging percentage, .802 OPS. In his first major league season, which was 156 games when all was said and done.
Yeah, he posted.
Yeah, I mean, he only had 881 at-bats in the minors. He got 593 in his rookie year.
Wow.
In the big league. So you want to talk about an accelerated growth curve, right?
And by the way, that's hard to do because of, and we asked him about it throughout the entire season, which he didn't really acknowledge until the very end. The amount of swings he has to take, which he said at the very end of the season, he needed to give his body a break. It was more swings than he'd ever taken in his life, and that was also because of the postseason. But to be able to keep yourself healthy and to not hit a major rookie wall during your rookie campaign, that is hard in itself, and he was able to pretty much do that.
He was. And along the way, very quickly, by the middle of May, or June at the latest, Jackson Merrill started to show something that he really didn't show a ton of in the minor leagues. Again, in 200 games in the minor leagues, Jackson Merrill hit 21 homers total. You know, his all-time high was, for any one team, was 10 for Fort Wayne in 68 games, 10. And then Jackson Merrill all of a sudden hits a homer, and we're like, whoa. And then he hits another homer. And then he hits 3 homers in 3 days.
Then he hits opposite field homers. Then he hits all around the field.
Ninth inning homers off Mason Miller.
Clutch homers, yeah.
You know, just all of a sudden, this power gene erupted. And yet, when you watched him at 6'3", 6'4", lithe, but with the ability, we talked about it during the year, Fangraphs did a whole thing about his ability to have a flat swing at the top of the zone, have an arced swing at the bottom of the zone, to be able to shift his bat plane depending on where the baseball was within the zone. His bat-to-ball skill turned out to be, at least for a rookie year, a near elite level in the sport.
No doubt about it. And he was truthful. Jackson Merrill was truthful throughout the season of, if he tried to do too much or he was forcing it or he was trying to hit homers, he would press and he wouldn't get any hits at all. He'd strike out or he'd hit into an out and he'd go back to the dugout. And so he learned quickly, and that was the biggest thing. I was so impressed with Jackson Merrill, was his ability to adjust. When you're a rookie and you're trying to show that you belong there, sometimes it can take a while to be like, okay, this isn't working. Or sometimes you don't want to ask veterans for advice or listen to what they have to say because you kind of want to act like, hey, I know what I need to do. I know I belong here. Jackson Merrill was never that guy. He came in, yes, wanting to soak up what the veterans wanted to tell him and the advice, but he also came in with the idea that he had something to give back to the veterans. He wasn't just going to take. He was going to give. He was going to be the consummate team player. He was going to bring the energy day in and day out. He was going to be good vibes all around. He was going to take some of that off of some of the veterans, which, just to have that presence of mind, even when things, he didn't really have like an extended slump, but he had a little mini slumps. Even when they didn't necessarily go his way, he remained that person. He felt very strongly about good energy and good vibes and making sure that his teammates knew he was there for them as well. But in late and close situations, OPS 982, high leverage situations, it was 926. He had really good hits and home runs off of good relievers, not just your throwaway garbage time guys or guys that were struggling. So he really just showed that he has the confidence, yes, but also the wherewithal mentally to withstand, at least in his rookie year, the rigors of a baseball season.
We've just put up, if you're watching on the YouTube feed, the Baseball Savant page for Jackson Merrill's first year in baseball, also his big league career. And a lot of red up there on the page. 79th percentile in all of baseball for batting value. When it came to base running, 93rd percentile. When it came to fielding, 91st percentile. Ranking in the top 5% in xWOBA, and expected batting average, expected slugging percentage, sweet spot percentage, outs above average in the outfield, 12 outs above average, and also his arm strength, 91 miles an hour average throw, ranked in the 90th percentile. You really look up and down, Annie, and everything is great with two notable and correctable exceptions. His walk percentage of 4.9% was the 8th percentile in baseball, and his chase percentage of 34% was 14th percentile in baseball. So Jackson chased a little bit too much, and as a result of chasing too much, it means you're not walking enough, because literally if you took the ones you chased, you would walk. So with a little tweak, which I think is something that a kid can find, as he goes through his young 20s, that's the next step for Merrill to become a perennial all-star.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have no doubt he can find that and he can work on that. And that is to be expected. I mean, the fact that we're seeing so much red and 2 spots of blue, which you just mentioned, this is good obviously good for him. It's very easy to see, but also you would want that for a rookie. Hey, here's where you need to improve. Here's where you can get better. And for Jackson Merrill, that's the name of his game. I mean, this guy, you hear the term baseball rat a lot, someone who just loves being at the field, loves being around the game. Maybe he's a cage rat or whatever, working on his fielding skills, whatever. He loves it all. This guy just wants to be at the baseball field. He wants to be working on his skills. He wants to be chopping it up with his teammates. He loves it. So I think you capitalize on this at this time in his life and really just trying to figure out his identity as a player and where he can improve these 2 areas, yes. And then also just look, next year, guys are going to approach him differently too. He might be lower or higher in the lineup. He might be in the top 5 in the lineup, right?
I would expect him maybe in the top 3 in the lineup.
There you go. So there might be a difference in the way pitchers come at him. There might be some more, I don't know if the film throughout the season, if pitchers took him as seriously as they should have, who knows, So he's going to have to adjust most likely as well. And I'm pretty confident in him that he's going to be looking at all that in the offseason.
Well, I guarantee you that everything you just said is exactly true. And furthermore, that the way they are going to attack him is based on those 2 little blue blips. Mm-hmm. Right? That's how baseball works. What's your weakness? Oh, you only have one weakness? Okay, well, you've got one weakness. Let's attack that one weakness. Jackson's not going to see fastballs in the zone unless it is a must-pitch to situation, right? 2-0, 3-1, so on and so forth. Even 3-1, he's going to see sliders, curveballs, changeups. The whole idea is going to be, well, if this kid chases, let's make him chase. Let's force him to be a 75 walk player. And if he can make that adjustment, kid's going to hit 315 with an on-base percentage of 400. Yeah. And he's going to do it for years, and that's going to make him Kenny Lofton levels of great. But Kenny Lofton didn't hit 24 homers in a season. We're talking about real ceiling, real heights.
Yeah, and it makes me an even smarter hitter. He's got the talent, no doubt about it, and he's smart already in terms of seeing pitches and what he can do at the plate. But you unlock a different level of just understanding the game, and he's got guys around him that do that so well with Manny, when Xander's on it, the way he sees the game, even Jurickson. There's so many guys that you see where the experience factor also lends to just being a smarter hitter at the plate and being able to have that gamesmanship with the pitcher. So they're going to come at him, no doubt about it. But, from year 1 to year 2, nothing's promised in baseball. We've seen it where rookie seasons end up with then a sophomore slump. Maybe guys have to figure some things out. Who knows with Jackson Merrill, but you're not going to he's not going to be outworked. I don't, he's not that kind of kid. He's not going to be someone who goes out there and just sits on his butt all postseason, or off season. He's going to be someone who's going to want to be improving and want to be showing that when he comes to spring training.
Yeah, I think when you look at the future for Jackson Merrill, it's pretty straightforward. Stay healthy, work on your chase percentage, start to become one of those hitters that's just an impossible out, because if you try to throw him outside the zone, he just takes his walk. But if you throw him inside the zone, he attacks and he does damage. And
a dream for Victor Rodriguez and the approach that Victor wanted, because, even Victor would talk about it all the time. Jackson at the very end of the season was like, okay, sometimes I was trying to hit homers and I did hit homers, but for the most part, he was trying to hit line drives. and he ended up hitting a homer. And so he really absorbed that and went with that identity and that approach. Him and Mike Schilt cut from the same cloth in terms of being also baseball rats, right? And I think that fit for him in terms of being on a team where there's a lot of cohesiveness in that clubhouse with veterans and the rookies, veterans and young players meshing. It was a good balance of just like that energy and that enthusiasm along with that growth and that learning, even from guys like David Peralta and Donovan Solano, who are also really good hitters who can see pitches well and understand the game. And his locker was right next to theirs. I think he learned a lot from them as well. So really, really high ceiling. And then, gosh, his defense. I mean,
Tremendous.
He was excellent. He was great out there in center field.
All right, Jackson, pick up your gift basket on the way out. Great job, man.
You get to leave with A+ marks, Jackson.
A+ marks,
Sure,
gold stars.
Do you think he's going to take this more seriously than his sit down that he had with like Mike Schilt or AJ Preller?
Maybe.
I think so too. I think that he's going to really hold on to the evaluations that we had for him.
Hey, buddy, we tossed in a gift certificate to Baja Ricks. Enjoy that.
That's right.
Enjoy that. All right.
Have a Merry Christmas, okay?
Have a Merry Christmas.
Subscription to the Jelly of the Month Club.
Now that Jackson's left the room, when we come back, the adults can get back together to talk about some of the other discussion topics around Merrill, like what type of expectations can you put on his 2025? What's the right time to strike on an extension? And could he be the shortstop of the future for the San Diego Padres? I mean, it's certainly not unrealistic, right? He was a shortstop last year. Why couldn't he be a shortstop next year? We're going to talk about that. Maybe a little bit more meaty than evaluating his season. His season was damn good. We'll be back with that right after this on 97.3 The Fan. The Odyssey app lets you jump back to the moments you missed on 97.3 The Fan. So while you're listening to the show, you can see what you missed and click to listen on demand. If you missed a guest feature or something crazy that happened earlier, we've got you covered. Download the free Odyssey app, search 97.3 The Fan, and tap earlier today, and you will be getting started. We are rolling through the 11 a.m. hour here on Annie and Elsten, previously called the Padres Deep Dive Hour. Not now because we're out of baseball, yet somehow, just like a cat finding its way back to the backyard, we always find our way back to baseball in the 11 a.m. hour. Today, Padres performance review, Jackson Merrill. We've already welcomed him into the office, given him his gold star, his bouquet, and his gift certificate, and sent him on his merry way.
Baja Ricks.
Yes.
Yes.
Please enjoy. Now, it's time, now that the door's closed, for the administrators to chat. So, first question. Hey, kid was amazing. Let me tell you, kid was amazing. What do we need to do to lock this kid up long term? Is what the guy with the gravelly voice that I don't know in the Padres front office would be asking. Is that
Yeah,
Josh
who
Stein?
is that?
Is that Josh Stein?
I don't
Is that-
know.
Josh
No,
Stein,
Josh Stein
been
is-
sucking on a cigar for like 3 weeks
Yeah,
straight.
maybe having been there for so long, maybe he's
Let me
reached
tell
the gravelly voice
The
stage.
kid stays in the picture. Yes. So, when's the right time? This is the open question for discussion. When's the right time for the Padres to strike on a Jackson Merrill contract extension offer? I've got a thought.
Well, the Padres thought it would be a good time to strike on that before he even played one game
Yes,
in the
they
big
did.
leagues.
Yes, they
In
did.
spring training of this year, or 2024, it's been reported that they were talking about some kind of contract, and the numbers didn't align. They didn't do it. So I would say, Craig, the next best time, I honestly think it's next year. I think you do it next year after next offseason. You run the risk of, yes, Jack, you want Jackson Merrill to have just as good of a season this year or even better that he has next year. But I don't know that his numbers are already going to be high because of the season he had this year. And, if I hate for him to have a sophomore slump, but maybe there is some other negotiation you could have after the end of next year. But you do run the risk. He has another really good season. That number's going to jump up again.
Nonetheless, you have to wait. Because if you went to him after his rookie year and gave him a 8-9 year contract offer,
Which we've seen done.
yes, but you are basing it off of that one season, which could be, and I'm not saying it will be, but it could be the best season of his career.
Yeah. You just
Like,
never know.
You never know.
Mm-hmm.
Believe me, I mean, I can come up with some quick examples. Pat Listach is top of mind, who was Rookie of the Year for the Brewers in 1992 and was out of baseball like 3 years later. I talked about Mark Pryor. After Mark Pryor's rookie year, he looked like the pitcher that would be the platonic ideal in the dictionary for long-term success, build, makeup, delivery, etc. And he never had one more good year in his career. Again, none of that applies apples to Jackson Merrill. Jackson Merrill's a gym rat, baseball lover,
But you don't know. You don't know how the next years are going to be. Why is his name escaping me right now with Arizona?
Corbin Carroll.
Yeah, I mean, that's an example, right? Had
Right.
an excellent freshman year, excellent, hit a major sophomore slump. And you just don't know. So if you know the number's going to be high anyways, and you feel like you don't want him to, first of all, no one wants him to have a subpar year. No one's saying that, okay? But you just don't know what the future holds. You may be able to negotiate a little better. I don't know, after year two. The problem though too is, here's the other thing, okay? Say they don't sign him at all. They don't make an extension at all. You still have him through 2027.
Yes.
The thing is that his arbitration numbers will go up.
You have him longer than that.
Do you have him longer than that?
Yeah, I think you have him through 2030.
Oh, well then I just don't think that you have to worry about it too much. Like, this is a guy that's with you for a long time still.
Yeah.
If you have to use that money to go better your roster in spots that you need because you have so much money already invested in long-term contracts,
Right.
you would love to sign Jackson Merrill. You'd love to sign him today, and maybe they will get something done this offseason. But you still need to be able to sign these other players to round out your roster, and you have Jackson Merrill on your team for many years to come. His arbitration numbers will go up, but you don't necessarily have to get this done.
The Padres brought up Fernando Tatis Jr. as a young man. He played his full season in 2019. He played his second full season, even though it was shortened by COVID. Nonetheless, he played the longest season he could in 2020. And spring of 2021, they signed him to an extension, to a statute contract, right? Beyond an extension, they signed him to a statute contract.
That's actually very manageable. I mean,
yes.
The 14 years is the part that you're like, oh, just like you said, you never know. Is that going to drop off? Is that going to continue? But the actual AAV, if Fernando continues to be Fernando, is pretty good.
Absolutely. And I'm not mad at that deal, and I'd make it again. Rewind me to February of 2021, and I'd sign off on that deal knowing everything we know since. Including the suspension, including the dirt bike accident.
I mean, he's still just 25,
else.
Right?
Right. So that's the advantage for Merrill. And I would say the sweet spot is after next year, when a lot of obligations are going to come off the books. Hosmer's dead money comes off the books. The free agents who are 2025 guys, you're making your choices on those. Some of those guys are going to leave. That's money that opens up as well. You're going to be bringing up in a year or two, you're expecting to, in a year or two, bring up players like Salas and DeVries that themselves are going to be on rookie deals and are going to allow for flexibility in the payroll. So I think 2026 offseason is the sweet spot to try and negotiate a deal with Jackson Merrill. Finding out what year two looks like, whether there's a little bit of regression. I was looking, he had a 319 BABIP last year. BABIP is usually around 300. Yeah. But he had a really high line drive percentage, a really high sweet spots percentage. Those are supposed to raise the BABIP. So, I don't think he was particularly lucky this year, but I do think that he's going to be far more a point of emphasis for opposing pitching coaches, opposing pitchers, going into 2025. So just evaluate, see what the season is. I'm expecting the best for Jackson Merrill. I don't know that he's going to go out and have another 5-WAR season, but I'm not saying he won't. He might have 5-WAR seasons for 15 years, or at least for 10 years going forward. So I think wait the year out, figure it out, and move on from there.
And you're right. I don't know why I thought he's ARB eligible in 2027, I believe, but he's not a free agent until 2030. He's not a free agent until 2030. And he loves being with the Padres. You can get this done before 2030 if you want to keep him. You can figure something out. Will his next contract, if he continues to play the way he is, be too much to afford? Who can say? I mean, that's a long ways away. We don't know what anything is going to happen in terms of payroll, in terms of what the Padres can and can't afford, in terms of TV money. So, if he ends up being the guy that you want to keep, you want to try to get it done before that. But at the same time, I don't think Jackson Merrill is ever going to stop competing and wanting to be part of a winning organization, which he's got with the Padres, and wanting to be part of giving himself to the game, which he just is naturally. And I agree. You kind of see what happens, right? You let it play out a little bit. I think it's great that they have him through 2030, because that is the greatness of this sort of contract, right? Or a Roki Sasaki or whatever.
Yeah.
You have these years of control that you have for such a bargain price for a player that ends up being a really significant piece of your club.
100%. And when we come back, we'll bring in the next big discussion topic. Where is that future for Jackson Merrill? Because I'll come at it from kind of a not combative standpoint, but a little more aggressive to define the argument. Why shouldn't Jackson Merrill be the shortstop in 2025? Why shouldn't he be the shortstop of this team going forward? Let's kind of build out the argument, the thought argument, and then see if we agree with it. When we come back, Annie and Elsten, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. This hour on 97.3 The Fans, brought to you by Buffalo Wild Wings, is football. Hey, San Diego sports fans, head to your local Buffalo Wild Wings. Try their new maple chipotle sauce for a rich maple sweetness and a mild smoky chipotle heat. Or for a bit of a kick, check out the new Cajun sauce for a rich blend of spicy and tangy pepper sauce. Stop by your San Diego B-Dubs or order now for takeout and delivery with Buffalo Wild Wings Go. All right, let's see if we can build an argument, like debate class style, right?
You always have to pivot off that sauce so
Sauce.
fast, you know?
I know. Saucy sauce. Pepper sauce. I just like that word.
No, it's great.
Pepper
yeah. Sauce makes the meal.
Saucy. Okay. Let's get saucy with a debate argument. The Padres' best defense involves Xander Bogaerts at second base. The Padres' best defense involves Jake Cronenworth at first base. Shortstop is one of the toughest, most expensive positions to fill in Major League Baseball. Let's take an exhibit of Willie Adames, who's sitting out there ready to get paid 9-figure deal. Oh, well, here's another example. Ha-Sung Kim, who many Padre fans found underwhelming in 2024. He's set to strike it rich on the free agent market because he plays the shortstop position well. So an affordable shortstop who's a great hitter and plays the position well is one of the top commodities in all of Major League Baseball. And the Padres have that on their roster, and they're choosing not to use it by playing Jackson Merrill in center field. I'm just constructing an argument. I'm not saying I even agree with what I'm saying.
The irony here about the Padres is it's a running joke. AJ Preller loves shortstops. There's 5 or 6 of them on the roster, but they have no one to play shortstop, right? Like that's the irony. That's the running joke of it all, right?
So what if, and again, the Padres have said they're going to make these decisions earlier on, but what if Preller looks at this market and says, I can find myself a corner outfielder. I can find a guy that can play left or right field. I've got this supreme athletic talent in right field. He can play center field. If Fernando Tatis Jr. can play right field, Fernando Tatis Jr. can play center field. If anything, it's easier.
That's been something that's been on the table in previous years.
Right? So I can align my elite athletic talent on this team up the middle. Tatis in center, Merrill in short. Soon it'll be Salas behind the plate. I got Xander at second base, a place where he showed himself to be very good defensively last year, as opposed to shortstop, where he was not good defensively last year. And why is it risky? Merrill's been a shortstop his whole life, right? Like the risky thing was putting him in center field in the first place. Now, he paid the bet. He paid the bet royally, right? But nonetheless, that's the argument I'm making. Just, again, for talk radio, making an argument for the sake of now discussing it and picking it apart. Why wouldn't you make Jackson Merrill the shortstop in 2025?
I mean, I don't know the reason they don't want to, but they seem to not want to. That was shut down very early on after the 2024 season ended. However, it's a long off season, and depending on who you get or what happens, how things unfold, I would imagine everything's on the table, at least for consideration. Preller did shut that down early on, saying no one from the outfield was going to move to shortstop. Now, I don't at all think that Jackson Merrill couldn't do it. I think Fernando could do it too, but you don't want to risk the injuries, right? Jackson, maybe there's something to that as well. Maybe there's something to just wanting to have that Tatis Merrill left fielder, completely the way they envision it, I guess. Can Jackson Merrill move there? Could you have an up the middle that's fantastic? 100%. I mean, there's no reason Jackson couldn't do it. He's a shortstop. He'd be excellent at that position again.
Now, I think JH in the chat hits on one of the important keys. The reason, 'cause again, I'm asking a question I know that there's answers to. Why wouldn't you move Jackson Merrill to shortstop? One reason you wouldn't is because you're holding the position
Yeah, for
for Leia
DeVries.
Dallas DeVries, and you expect DeVries to be your shortstop for 7 years. So you don't want to move Merrill in from center,
Yes.
put him at short. He has a great year at short. A year after that, DeVries is ready to take over the position full time. Now what are you doing with him? Are you moving him back
Yeah.
to center field? So on and so forth.
I think that could be a main mover in this all. And as the years go on, and depending on who's playing shortstop next season, I think we'll get some more information into their thinking. But exactly, I mean, that is, to me, makes a lot of sense. You don't want to move him and then have to move him back. What is, I think, we have to be careful about, or I know I told myself to be careful about it yesterday. I was listening to Tony Gwynn Jr. talk about how he's heard that Ethan Salas might be a little slower to make the development that they would like, right?
Sure.
So whatever that means, I think we have to be careful not to assume that come 2027, wait, what year are we? 2025, 2026? Is that
Yeah.
when they're supposed to be here?
Right.
Next,
26
not
possible
this year,
arrival
but
date.
right.
Yeah.
So 2026, the beginning of 2026, these guys are going to be on the doorstep, ready to go. That's an assumption that I think, are thinking could happen, that I think a lot of fans would love to see happen, but we just don't know what journey their development's going to take. So you do have to look at this in two views. Hey, you don't want to mess things up too much because you've got Leo Dallas DeVries waiting around the corner, ready to come in. But also, you don't know how long it's going to take necessarily, and you don't want to allow that position to suffer either. I personally think Xander Bogaerts can do it for another year. And I think that he will be fine. I think you disagree with that. But, maybe he's not elite, but I think that he will be able to be a solid shortstop for them, for the Padres, if he has a full season at that position.
I think he'll
Like
be
he's done his entire career.
fine. I think he'll be fine, but I don't think he'll be great defensively. I don't, he
I think
was
he'll be
okay in
I think he'll be
23.
good defensively. He might not be elite, but I think he'll be good.
I think he'll, yeah. I mean, we can quibble on the level of good to okay that he'll be defensively, but I think we agree he'll be something-ish like that. Now, once again, here's the counter, okay? Hang on, don't move Merrill to short. We're holding it for DeVries. Well, what if you just trade DeVries? And listen, I'm going to just keep saying it. I'm forwarding an argument that to punch holes in. I'm not saying this is my position, okay? Because you've heard me on these airwaves on this show say, don't trade DeVries, don't trade Salas. It's critical that you don't trade these players. But if you really wanted to make 2025 a special team, you have very few assets that you can trade off this team that are going to improve the team without raising its salary tax number, into the stratosphere. But one of the things you could do, you could do it. You could trade DeVries, get a Crochet, get a young, controllable pitcher, get something that you really need to do, and then say, no, it's all part of our long-term plan. Our long-term plan involves Tatis in center and Merrill at shortstop, and this is how we want to align our elite talent. And we feel over time, left, right field, the corner outfield, those are positions that you can recycle and get players more efficiently and cheaper, but we want our elite players that we lock down to be up the middle. It's an argument. I'm not saying it's the right thing, but it's certainly an argument that someone could make with conviction.
It's going to be interesting as the Padres watch the development of Salas and DeVries. If there's an inkling in their minds at any point ever that these guys might not be all that they were projected to be, you've got a very small window before the rest of the baseball world figures that out as well.
Yes.
Or they lose value, So I think they're still high on them. It is an argument, like you said. And if you did that, you're right. You would want to get guys that have the kind of control that would be worth doing that, if you're making the argument that that's worth doing at all, because you want that payoff to be just like DeVries and Salas will be like Merrill, where you have those years of control that don't cost you a lot for what should be really great players. That's what you need in return if you're doing that sort of thing. You need really great players that don't cost you a lot, that you've got for quite a while.
Yeah. So it's a fun thought experiment. I'm going to go back to what Annie said. A.J. Preller has said it himself. He's not doing this.
At least things can change, but he's at least said that on the record at the end of the season.
Right.
Yes.
And I believe him. And again, right, anything could change.
Look, I don't think they thought necessarily Xander was playing second until he was,
Right.
on the first day of spring training, until things didn't go the way that they thought they would go.
Yes, absolutely. So understanding that AJ Preller is this team's GM, which means creativity is on the table, radical change is on the table. Oh my gosh, Jake Waters, you just brought the show to a halt in the chat. Did you just actually say that the Padres should trade for Javier Baez, the single worst contract in baseball?
I'm confused.
Like the worst. I think he's saying trade him and Salas to the Tigers for Javier Baez? Do you hate this team?
Well, he's a Detroit Lions fan.
You
so
are a Detroit fan.
Is he a Detroit Tigers fan too?
Maybe he just wants the player.
You're showing
right?
your stripes.
Yeah, wait a minute.
Showing your tiger stripes here. Jake, are you kidding me? I think the Tigers would like run to the MLB office.
And then Hinch, or no, who's their GM? He'd play it cool. He'd be like, "Oh well, let me ask. Hold on, let me talk to some people.
Let me run it up the
You know, when
flagpole.
they hold the phone and they're just like screaming on the other side.
AJ, listen, I can't get a hold of the owner right now, but we'll have an answer for you within the hour. Yeah, no, that's exactly what it would be. That's exactly what it would be. No chance, brother. No chance. You're stuck with Baez. We're stuck with Bogarts, okay? I'll take my side of that deal. If you just talk one for one, player for player, I'll take Bogarts over Baez every day, twice on Sunday. Every day. Oh, my golly. Okay. Well, that's, it's part of the joy of having a chat right there, but also, Jake, my friend, derailing.
Yeah, I wouldn't be moving Bogarts.
Bogarts and Salas for Javi Baez? I mean, can we get the giant fist for Joe Louis as well from Detroit while we're at it? It's got about as much value on the baseball field as Javi Baez does. Tigers didn't even play Javi Baez. Didn't they? I mean, I don't even know where they hit him at the end of the year. Was he hurt?
He had 80 games.
80 glorious.
80 games, a 184 average.
Solid.
221 on base percentage.
Woo-wee. 221.
516 OPS.
Lordy.
Maybe he was hurt. I don't know. He might have been hurt.
Tiger fans were hurt every time they watched him play. But for 82 glorious games, they didn't. And without Baez, the team made it all with like a rookie at shortstop.
I give Jake in the chat credit for being passionate about his Tigers player, wanting him to come to San Diego.
Yes.
But no, we're not doing that one.
No, thank you. No, thank you. Double no, thank you. Okay, yeah, this is exactly as long as this deserves. In the minute that we have left here, we were given Baseball America's 2028 projected Padres starting lineup. Salas at catcher, Crony at first, Bogarts at second, Manny at third, DeVries at short, Cobb Hightower in left, Merrill in center, Fernando in right. Apparently we're re-upping Luis Ariz and Dylan Cease because they have him listed as starter one with Yu Darvish, Cash Mayfield.
What up, Cash?
Randy Vasquez and Johnny Brito to follow, and Jeremiah Estrada, the closer.
It's the closer. This is Baseball America's 2028 prediction.
Imagine thinking you know anything AJ Preller is going to do 5 years in advance.
We don't even know if we're all going to be here in 2028.
Yeah, nothing's promised, Baseball
Is the Earth
America.
going to exist? I don't know.
Nothing's promised. Cash Mayfield and Cobb Hightower. Really?
I think AJ Preller is going to make some more moves beyond that.
I have a
beyond
feeling,
what's on their projection.
Those guys might be Tigers. 12 o'clock Sports Fix is next. We have reached the midpoint of the work week. It's lunch hour on Wednesday, otherwise known as Peak Annie. We are at number one Heilbronn efficiency right now, 12 o'clock on a Wednesday.
It's all downhill from here.
Well, nonetheless, let's enjoy the peak.
Enjoy while you have the opportunity.
Enjoy the view from the peak here at 12 o'clock on a Wednesday with your 12 o'clock sports fix, all your sports news, and it starts with Annie's peak efficiency report.
Oh, the pressure now. Okay, well, there's not a whole lot going on in Major League Baseball, but let's start with the Baseball Writers Association of America Awards coming to almost an end. There's still more, right? Tonight, tomorrow.
Days.
Okay.
Do we have any other participants potentially?
No more second place
no more Padres
finishes.
participants.
We got all the silver medals.
So Guardians skipper Stephen Vogt, Brewers manager Pat Murphy were both named their respective leagues' managers of the year. Both men took the award after leading their teams to division titles in year one. Vogt took the reins for the Guardians within a year and a half of retiring as a player. Murphy was also in his first year. And like Vogt, he took over for one of the sport's most respected managers, Craig Counsell, who went to the Cubs. Mike Schilt, Carlos Mendoza, and Philadelphia's Rob Thompson each received one first-place vote. The New York Mets landed veteran outfielder Jose Siri in a trade with the Tampa Bay Rays, the team announced yesterday. In return, the Mets traded reliever Eric Orzi. I'm saying that right. The Padres announced yesterday that they've selected left-hander Omar Cruz as well as right-handers Henry Baez and Ryan Berger to their 40-man roster ahead of the Rule 5 draft protection deadline. No corresponding moves were necessary, and the 40-man roster for the Padres stands at 37 players. The Mariners have acquired infielder Austin Shenton in a trade with the Rays. Seattle will send cash considerations to Tampa Bay. In return, both teams have confirmed the trade. And 12 of the 13 qualified free agents declined the qualifying offer we learned yesterday when the deadline for it passed. The exception was old friend Nicky Tightpants, Nick Martinez. He accepted the $21 million offer from the Reds. Last year, no players accepted the qualifying offer. And that's it for Major League Baseball.
Did you see? I just saw really quick the Cubs traded for Cleveland's Eli Morgan.
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, they traded for Eli Morgan, reliever, had a sub-2 ERA last year, but they rarely used him in the Cavs. Sorry, I'm NBA locked in. Saw it on Twitter. And that the Cubs designated Patrick Wisdom for assignment.
Oh.
I would consider giving that kid a look.
Yeah, just so he doesn't kill the Padres.
Right?
Yeah, he's always had success.
Just stash him in Peoria, just put him in a closet.
Is he from like Marietta or something?
You can't hurt us anymore, Patrick Wisdom.
Is he a SoCal kid? I think he's a SoCal kid.
I am not
If
sure.
I'm not mistaken.
Well, I'll look that up while we get through Braden's NFL report.
He is high school Marietta. Yeah.
Yes, he's a SoCal
High school's
kid.
Marietta and
Which one? There's like
7 years in
1,500
baseball.
Marietta High Schools.
Marietta
now.
High School, it says.
Marietta High School.
No, sorry.
Marietta
Valley High School.
Okay,
Yeah.
Marietta Valley. They have Marietta Valley. They have
Marietta
Vista
Valley.
Marietta. They have Marietta Mesa.
Wow.
I'm not kidding. Those are 3 high schools in Marietta. Valleys, Mesas, Vistas, in Marietta. College football, specifically 3C, 2A college football, junior college football. Shout out to the Mesa College football program. San Diego Mesa this year went 8-2 and went 5-2 in the National Conference in the Southern Division. 3C, 2A is all California schools, may I add. But a great job by Gary Watkins, the head football coach at Mesa College. He also played high school football at Monte Vista. First team from San Diego to make the 3C, 2A community college football playoffs in 20 years. Since Grossmont College did it in 2005 when they won the state and national championship back in 2005. Mesa was awarded the 3 seed in the playoffs and will travel to take on Riverside JC, which is head coached by Tom Kraft, former Aztecs head coach, former Aztecs
Tom
player.
Kraft.
Tom Kraft has done some great things at Riverside College. They went 7-0 this year in division play, 9-1 on the year. These two teams already met earlier this season. In fact, a couple of weeks ago on November 9th, Riverside won 62-41. So maybe San Diego Mesa can get some revenge on that one. But the game will be on Saturday, November 30th at 1 o'clock for that playoff game for Mesa College. Again, the first team to win or should I say, first team to make the postseason in junior college football here in San Diego for any San Diego team since Grossmont did it in 2005. Mesa College this year did sweep all the San Diego schools. They beat Grossmont College 40-14. They beat Southwestern 48-7. And on the 16th, which was last Saturday, up at the brand new stadium at Palomar College, a 14-10 victory over the Palomar Comets. So that's a look at some local junior college football. Don't spend too much time on that, but San Diego Mesa obviously achieving something that hasn't been done in
great.
20 years.
Yeah,
so a
absolutely.
big shout out to Gary Watkins at Mesa College, the Monte Vista product, and we'll see what him and his boys got against Tom Kraft coming up in a couple of Saturdays. In the NFL, two-time Super Bowl MVP Eli Manning, prolific tight end Antonio Gates, and dominant pass rusher Jared Allen are among the 25 modern-era candidates for the 2025 Pro Football Hall of Fame class. The Hall announced the semifinalists Wednesday after the selection committee cut a list of 50 nominees made by newly created screening committee. The list includes 6 players in their first year of eligibility and 10 players who were finalists last year. Other notable players, San Diego product Eric Allen is on the list. Antonio Gates, as we mentioned. Steelers' James Harrison. Former Charger and Patriot Rodney Harrison on the list. Luke Kuechly, Eli Manning, Steve Smith Sr., Terrell Suggs, Adam Vinatieri, Hines Ward, Reggie Wayne, Vince Wilfork, Darren Woodson, and Marshall Yanda are some of the notable on that list here in the semifinalists of the Hall of Fame for the NFL. So hopefully, obviously, San Diego product, Eric Allen. Be nice to see him in the Hall of Fame, the Point Loma Pointer. And then, of course, it'd be nice to see the former Chargers in the Hall of Fame as well, former San Diego Chargers. I thought it was super weird seeing Rodney Harrison as the selected captain, honorary captain for the Chargers on Sunday night. The guy that they couldn't afford to pay, so he left town to go play for the Patriots.
And
but
they had a major feud for a long time. That must have been mended, I guess, recently.
But it's a very interesting thing, right? It's the same thing. I always put it back to like my mom with high school, right? Like her high school doesn't exist anymore. Uni High, it's gone.
Right.
And so now Cathedral is like the new school. It's a different name in a different place in a different buildings. Mm-hmm. And you're still like, well, this is where I went to school, but this is not where I went to school, right? It's the same thing with all the San Diego Charger players. You know, different city, different stadium, different everything. The only thing that's the same is the logo of the team, and it's like, this is where my legacy is, but like, this is not where I played. I know Eric Weddle has spent time talking about that in the past.
You know what's interesting too? I ran into like the Chris Dealmans, the Eric Weddles, like you talk about, and different players will talk about how their kids start to YouTube them and find clips of their dad playing, and how at some point they want to show their kids, this is what I did, and there's no way to do that in San Diego. So they end up maybe going to a game when they normally, wouldn't have. Maybe they were against them relocating, but they want to show their kids a little bit of where they came from, and so they tend to mend fences, and which I cannot blame them for. I completely get that as a dad, and
that's where your legacy is, right?
But many times players will talk about how they still hate it. They completely hate the Chargers being in LA, and maybe they just go. They had the alumni game last week, so maybe they just go for the alumni game or whatever game here and there. But then they educate them also on the San Diego Chargers part of it as well.
Yeah, but it's just like Eric Dickerson with the Rams, right? He didn't really want to be associated with the St. Louis Rams. They moved back, and now he's the focal point of the LA Rams again from their alumni. But it's weird. It's just a weird thing. I mean, those guys never play. The stadium that they played in is done. It's not even like they can go to Mission Valley, right? Because it's Snapdragon Stadium. They didn't play in that stadium either, and just it's been completely erased. So when you go back to play or you go back to watch a game, it's like, well, this is the organization I played for. It's like, well, we didn't live up here. I don't know anything about what's around here. We didn't play in the stadium. Like, it's just totally different.
It's very foreign.
And it's not their fault, right? I mean, that's just who they got drafted by or who they played for and made their career with. It's a lot different than all the other programs. Some of the things that also happen besides the fans getting hosed. Last thing for me today, and then we'll pass it along to Craig. College football had their top 25 playoff rankings announced. Oregon was 1, Ohio State 2, Texas 3, Penn State, Indiana, Notre Dame, Alabama, Miami, Ole Miss, and Georgia in the top 10. Tennessee ranked 11th, but they got replaced by BYU if you look at the playoffs because of automatic qualifiers. A lot of interesting nuggets that you can pull out of this. A lot of inconsistencies when it comes to what is a good win, what is a bad loss, what do we value, what do we not. Notre Dame not getting punished at all for losing to a MAC team in Northern Illinois as the number 8 seed. Tennessee getting punished for losing to Georgia, even though Georgia's got the best strength of schedule in the country. The list goes on and on and on. BYU gets ranked behind SMU, who BYU beat in this regular season at SMU earlier this year with the same record, yet they are ranked behind the Mustangs. And then there's certain teams that are ranked that have the same record as schools that aren't ranked but didn't beat anybody that was in the top 25. We got to finagle this to give these guys a ranking. It's a lot of BS. The committee went on to say that we watched film and everything else, which actually raised more eyebrows from people that watched the same tape going, what are these people looking at? I don't understand. There was a lot of problems with the rankings last night. We'll see if they fix themselves, but there's a lot of interesting. We beat them and have the same record, yet we're 4 spots behind them in the rankings. This doesn't make any sense. And that is, ladies and gentlemen, what is going to be a playoff when you have humans involved. I digress. Here's Craig.
All right, we're going to start with the local teams report. The San Diego Legion is moving back to their original home, Torero Stadium on the UST campus.
Yes.
Legion have played the last couple seasons at Snapdragon Stadium, had some good crowds too, drew over 12,000 for a game, but they cited the lack of available weekend dates as the number one reason why they are moving back to UST. The Legion 2025 MLR schedule, Major League Rugby, begins with the home opener February 16th against longtime nemesis Seattle Seawolves. San Diego Gulls host the Calgary Wranglers tonight. AHL action at Pechanga Arena. The Gulls are 4-9-0-1, 9th place in the 10-team Pacific Division, but they are coming off a wild game against Bakersfield where they lost in a shootout 8-7. So maybe they got their scoring skates on and sharpened. The game is at 7 p.m. tonight. Also at 7 p.m. tonight, San Diego Clippers put their 3-1 record on the line when they host the South Bay Lakers. No, Bronny is not expected to appear for South Bay, despite what, you might see on social or whatever.
Right.
Bronny James, who they put on the Lakers injury list yesterday.
I think there was a hope that. Do the Lakers have a game tonight?
The Lakers had a game last night.
I think there was a hope that LeBron and Bronny might drive down
together.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen.
Dad taking his kid to a youth tournament.
I mean, it
He's
is
going to drop him off.
Yeah.
He's like, here's your peanut butter and jelly sandwich, Bronny. Have a great time at the game.
The Lakers do have a home game tomorrow, so, I mean, today is a home-off day. It's not impossible. It would be really, really funny if he actually did drop him off.
If they just show up, hey, those people are going to have a great ticket to a fun atmosphere tonight.
This black Escalade that's all tricked out just gets through the turnaround and Bronny in his backpack.
Bronny coming in with the orange slices. Yeah.
Hey, guys, I'm here. I don't think that's happening. Unfortunately, but you can go check out the game.
Yeah, it'll still be a fun time.
Is it LeBron's turn to have? Is he the parent on snack duty this week?
Yeah, that's what I mean. LeBron's coming in with the orange slices.
Snacks.
Yeah.
All these different little snack-sized Ziploc bags filled with grapes and oranges.
LeBron's got snack.
Like, I brought my kid to the game.
He's got snack duty.
When LeBron has snacks, a caterer just shows up.
It would be pretty epic if they just rolled in and just like, LeBron just sits on the side by the bench.
No chance.
No, he'd be like any other travel ball parent, right? He'd just be up in the rafters somewhere hiding, like watching, like all the travel ball and AAU parents. Or I feel like he's one of those parents more than the guy on the sideline just making a bunch of noise.
The helicopter parent.
Yeah, I don't think even though this is very helicopter of him to do.
It should be if you're wanting to go out and see Front Wave though, it should be a good time.
Yes.
You just won't see LeBron there.
The game is on ESPN Plus.
Steve Quiz.
You can hear the quizzer if you can't make it up to Oceanside. Last night in the NBA Cup, Boston Celtics spoiled Cleveland's attempt at a perfect NBA season, which is not a thing. No one's ever tried to go 82-0. A couple teams have come close.
Has any team ever done that?
No.
Okay.
No.
That'd be so hard.
No.
Has any team ever gone to 162-0? No way.
The most wins was the
No.
2015-16 Warriors. I think they won 73 games out of 82, which is incredible. And then they didn't win. They were up 3-1 famously on LeBron.
Yeah.
blew a 3-1 lead in the finals.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well,
Nonetheless, no one's ever going to go 82-0.
or 162-0.
No, no.
Like ever.
Celtics won last night 120-117 at TD Garden in Boston. The Celts were 22 of 41 from the three-point line, outscoring the Cavs by 39 from beyond the arc to win by 3. Jason Tatum had 33 points and 12 rebounds. Huge news for the LA Lakers in their quest to repeat as NBA Cup champions and have Michael Imperioli and Rosario Dawson clink a glass in their honor. The Lakers got a 37-point, 9 three-pointer effort from their rookie wing, Dalton Connect. Lake Show gets past Utah 124-118. That was expected. What was unexpected?
Go Vols.
Yeah, go Vols. What was unexpected was in San Antonio, a Spurs team without Victor Wembanyama nonetheless upset Oklahoma City 110-104. OKC is in LA's group in NBA Cup. That means the Lakers now lead the group alone at 2-0. It further means that LA has a path to winning their group without beating OKC. If they can beat up on their next opponent and get the point differential right, they could advance without even having to beat Shea and the great OKC team. Meanwhile, taking a look at the rest of the Cup standings, surprising a little bit on top to see Orlando lead East Group A, tied with New York at 2-0. Detroit leads East Group B at 2-0. They're the only team with 2 wins in the group. Atlanta leads Group C 2-0. Cleveland and Boston now are both 1-1 in that group. Houston and Portland are 1-0, leading West Group A. Lakers, as mentioned, with a 1-game lead now on the pack in West Group B, while Golden State has the 1-game lead at 2-0 in West Group C. They'll be back to NBA Cup play on Friday. Today is just a regular season game day, but 8 games on the hard courts tonight. Of note, Orlando Magic at LA Clippers. The Magic have won 6 in a row without Paolo Banchero. Very impressive. Franz Wagner averaging about 30 points per game in his absence. And on the other side of the spectrum, the Philadelphia 76ers had a team meeting after Monday night's loss, which dropped them to 2-11, in which superstar guard Tyrese Maxey called out center Joel Embiid for quote-unquote being late for everything. The meeting leaked more than the sieve in your grandma's sink, as it was held behind closed doors on Monday, and by Tuesday morning, Shams Charania basically had a beat-by-beat of the players' meeting. So, will Philadelphia rally or not?
Of course you do. Queen of Eyewash loves a good team
love
meeting.
A team meeting, yeah.
Gotta love a good team meeting.
Love a good team meeting.
Especially when everyone reports out of it
Yeah,
immediately afterwards. Here's what happened, guys. Maxey called out
And then everyone
Embiid.
watches the next game as if that is like going to be the qualifier if the team meeting was successful or not.
It is. Quickly to the NHL. Last night, Winnipeg, which had lost 2 in a row after a 15-1 start, got back on the right foot with a 6-3 win over Florida. The Ducks won again. Anaheim's won 3 in a row. They beat Chicago 3-2. Tonight, the LA Kings host the Buffalo Sabres. No action today for the team from Utah, so I will not be whistled for a foul on this particular report. I made it out clean, and that's it for today's 12 o'clock Sports Fix. Thanks to everybody for checking it out. When we return on Annie and Elsten, we always like to cover the constantly evolving MLB local television rights versus national television rights. Big story today, Evan Drellick in The Athletic about it, and a very grand plan by Rob Manfred for Major League Baseball for 4 years from now. Is it a complete pipe dream? And also, what's up with MLB Network? Is it kind of gone?
And his idea for MLB Network is not too bad either.
Well, we're gonna give it to you. We're gonna give it all to you when we come back. Quick timeout. Stay right there. It's Annie and Elsten on 97.3 The Fan. All right, football fans, listen up. If you need that extra edge for game day, then you need to cash the ticket. Mike Valenti and Jim Costa are breaking down the biggest matchups, finding the best value on the board with new episodes every Thursday and Friday. Cash the Ticket, the podcast to help you bet smarter on both pro and college games. Follow it on the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
I got breaking NFL news just after the report that you would have loved.
Dun, 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 dun. What's that?
After falling to 2-2 with a 1-point loss to the Broncos, New York Jets owner Woody Johnson called an internal meeting.
Yes.
And he loves
I
these.
love internal meetings.
On September 30th with his top football people. In that meeting, Johnson, concerned about the direction of the team, broached the idea of benching quarterback Aaron Rodgers. Multiple sources have confirmed to ESPN. Johnson's alleged suggestion, first reported by The Athletic, triggered different reactions. One source who attended the meeting indicated that it was, quote, said in jest in a provocative nature. Others in the meeting interpret it differently. One source said Johnson appeared to be serious, while another said if Woody really wanted Rodgers bench, he would have been benched. He survived the threats. Unclear if he knew about it, but two people in the meeting are no longer with the team. 8 days later, Johnson fired coach Robert Saleh after 3+ seasons. On Tuesday, general manager Joe Douglas met the same fate after 5+ seasons on the job. Jets are 3-8, one of the NFL's biggest disappointments.
Whale of a guy to hitch your wagon to.
The Jets are jetsing.
Hitch your wagon to Rodgers. Rodgers' wagon goes off the cliff. You go off the cliff. Ta-da.
Now they have to answer questions about that in the pressers.
I would say that the owner is lying, but at the same time, it's not like the owner went out and said, I brought this up. It is multiple sources from people that attended the meeting that said this is what happened. So it's very interesting, to say the least. And the Jets are even more of a mess than we thought they were. Ha, ha, ha.
Frank Marchese's Jets. Or is he the Giants or the Jets?
I mean, the
Giants.
I think he's a Giants
Oh, never mind.
guy.
Sorry,
I
Frank.
think, if you got to root for the Mets, it sucks to have to root for the Jets, too. So I think a lot of people are like, yeah. Although the Giants have their own problems as well.
Just taking a look, and thank you, Adam, for pointing it out in the chat. Right at 12 o'clock, San Diego FC put up a tweet welcoming Juan Mata to ownership for the club as a club partner. First active international player to invest in MLS. World Cup champion, UEFA Champions League champion Juan Mata is now going to be one of the owners of San Diego FC. So you got Mata, you got Machado. I mean, they're building up an all-star ownership suite at Snapdragon Stadium coming up. Cool. All right. Okay, so there's two pieces of news. Here's another one for you, which was our intended subject for the segment. Evan Drellich has been following
Evan
Drellich has been following the ever-changing, constantly unfolding story of Major League Baseball's local rights for television, how the Diamond Sports Group going into bankruptcy, finding its way out of bankruptcy, letting go several of its local contracts, including, of course, 2 years ago here in San Diego with the Padres. And along the way, I think we've highlighted for you as much as any show around the disparity in local television revenue and how it creates the disparity in Major League Baseball. How it's literally the template upon which the disparity of Major League Baseball is built is the Yes Network, Spectrum Sportsnet, Los Angeles, NESN, the marquee network in Chicago. Like those four networks, which are owned and controlled by the entities, the major league clubs that create hundreds of millions of dollars per year.
NBC, Bay Area.
Yes. But, I mean, especially those clubs, especially the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Mets, the Cubs.
Red Sox. Maybe the Giants.
Those teams get an enormous local television revenue value compared to other teams. And by the way, while we're here, for just a moment, I want to say this because I really do try to attack this show in a good faith nature. My buddy Joe Sheehan wrote about this and was a little blithe about it on a couple of ways, but did bring up an element of the collective bargaining agreement in which, in fact, yes, major league teams do share local television revenue. And I saw it and I read the clause in it, and it's the way it works is that each team gets to come up with a figure of what their local television net revenue was. And they get to take lots of things out of it, including stadium expenses, including other things. But then they get to that number, whatever number they can account down to. And then they have to put half of that into a sharing pool. And then all 30 teams take the same amount out of the sharing pool.
Just like, so, I just saw it in an article and I can't remember. It's half, essentially half. Think of it like a 50-cent tax or a 42-cent tax or whatever it is on every dollar made or something like that. So even for the Padres, ticketing, right? They sell tickets. If that is where their money is being put into the pot or whatever, think of it like a tax on that dollar made from, right? Essentially everyone who buys something.
Yeah. And I've got the CBA language here, and I can't read it because I don't want my head to explode.
It's the way they do revenue sharing. It's the way they do trying to help with the inequity. But remember, too, like when the Padres reached a certain threshold, they had to put money into, I don't know if this is separate or this is the same thing.
That was a different thing.
Okay, it's a different thing. They had to put money into to help like the lowly teams because they were, so, and on the other side of that, the Padres have been the ones being helped many, many years.
Yeah, and that's because they were over the tax. They were over the luxury tax. That's why they had to contribute. That's that fine, right? Is that part of that contribution?
I don't know, because
fine?
the new CBT, what I saw earlier this year was that the luxury tax money now goes to helping teams who lost their TV deal and are losing money to be getting that $15 million for 1 year to help bridge the gap between the money you're now losing. So I don't exactly know what money's coming from where, but essentially you are paying some of the less wealthy teams, I guess, or whatever, less, but and also every team is putting in money into one pot that does benefit the league as a whole.
Correct. It's the only, I wanted to bring that up because.
It's hard to understand. Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to bring it up because on one level, something I have said on the show is factually incorrect when I say every year the Dodgers have $320 million when the Padres have $5 million, right? And that's a $315 million advantage year over year. That's not accurate because some of that LA money is going into this what's it called? Blended revenue sharing plan, local revenue
Something
sharing
like
plan, blended net local revenue pool. Oh my goodness, the flowery language of Major League Baseball. Nonetheless.
But the reason that you don't hear about that a lot really is because there is no spending floor. So like that money goes back into a team, but it's not necessarily like that money has to be used on the payroll or to benefit the stadium or to who knows where the money's going really. So if there was a floor in MLB, then you would know that some of that money that is being helped to other teams is going more toward like the payroll or whatnot.
Yeah. And also there's all sorts of funny accounting ways.
A lot of funny accounting.
So like every time you see, here's another way to look at it. When you the Dodgers have to contribute all this money. They get all this money, but they have to contribute all this money. Well, hang on. Every dollar you're spending on your stadium gets deducted out of what you have to share. So basically, they have the ability to renovate Dodger Stadium for free every single year and do whatever they want to do and do as much of it as they want. And that money's coming out of their figure that they have to then contribute.
Does that make sense for the Padres too, who have renovated?
Well, yeah, but we don't have $320 million coming in. So
but
maybe
the Padres don't have to pay as much out?
Maybe they don't have to pay as much out, but they don't have anything to put in almost to begin with.
Okay.
Right? So they're mostly just taking out anyway. Nonetheless, the point being, there was a little wiggle room in there, and I didn't want to present it as black and white, as like this $300 million advantage year over year, but it's kind of a $150 million advantage year over year.
I'm glad you brought it up because there is like revenue sharing in MLB or whatever. There is money being put to all the teams, but it's confusing, and I don't know how like it necessarily how to quantify it every time.
What would be simpler? What would be simpler would be to have understanding that you can't duplicate the National Football League, because the National Football League doesn't have 32 local television broadcast rights deals for regular season NFL games. They do have that for preseason games where they'll put a game or two on whatever, Channel 8 here or something somewhere else. But what the NFL does is they have exclusively national television rights. All of those national television rights are negotiated by the league, and then that revenue is distributed equally amongst 32 teams. It's the linchpin behind the parity of the National Football League, where a market like Green Bay, Wisconsin can compete with New York City, New York, and have it be on completely even footing. Rob Manfred, commissioner of Major League Baseball, wants to get to a position where baseball is doing the same thing as the NFL. They already have national rights deals they distribute evenly, like when you see the games on Fox or ESPN.
Amazon Prime.
Right.
Or, yeah.
But that's not where the big money is in baseball. The big money is in the everyday 6-month regular season market by market, but in particular for Chicago, L.A., New York, et cetera, right? So, and we're going to run out of time. We'll probably have to punt some of this after the match game. But this is the basic idea Rob Manfred wants, right, Annie? And he wants it by 2028. He thinks he can come up with a world where he can bring the Dodgers ownership and Steve Cohen and the Steinbrenners, and everyone over the line and have them actually work against their selfish short-term interest in the exchange for putting it all into a central pot, and this is going to grow the game, and by growing the game, your revenues are going to grow as a result, even though short-term you're taking this hit. That's the vision of Rob Manfred.
Yeah, and we're probably going to have to get to more of this in the 1 p.m. hour. But yeah, exactly. So the deals run up from Diamond before 2028 or by 2028. So he's keying that number and saying by then, we already have 7, 8 if you count the Mariners. They have a weird situation going on that have already come over to MLB Media. So when those other teams run out, you're going to have more than half the league. You're going to be able to collect these teams along the way. Then there's some other deals that are part of other stations or whatever that they think they'll be able to get. But you have to be able to make this worth your while when you're selling it, like worth the Amazon Prime or ESPN is talking about wanting to get in on it, or Apple TV. You would want to have some of the major players, which are the Yankees or the Dodgers. At the same time, the Dodgers deal doesn't run out until 2039.
Right.
It'd be hard-pressed for me to think that they would leave their deal that is so lucrative for them and go over to MLB unless there's something that really is enticing for them. Going over to MLB. So he envisions a world where, as we talked about MLB network cuts happening, and he talks about, and we just saw it, Comcast and NBC just put out something too, where they're having to spin off all of their sports programming into, because of the demise kind of linear TV, as they call it. So, you're going to a world of streaming. You're going to a world where they see MLB Network as being used for like pre and post game shows, and then the game, and then like a national type post game show at the very end. This is something that I've heard some of the teams that have gone over to MLB, because the pre and post game show is very bare bones and they have cut costs in terms of putting that on. They speculate that at some point MLB will just have like a centralized pre and post game show where they're just going out to the club, the team that's about to play, just like you see on Sunday mornings for football, and you're getting a report from the sideline reporter or the play-by-play or whoever's giving you the report for 30 seconds or a minute, and then you're sending it back to New Jersey where the MLB Network studios are, and then you're going out to another team and another game. So it would probably be something along those lines. I think it's what the NFL does. It's probably what they needed to do a long time ago, but how are you selling it if you don't have some of the major players in it?
Yeah, and as we go to break, because we got to get set up for match game next, you would need a commissioner to get this done.
And they'll have a new CBA by that time.
They will.
So this is something where they need the Players Association also to want to give up some things as well, or want to be enticed to go along with whatever revenue part of this affects them as well.
Yeah, but the last commissioner Major League Baseball had was Fay Vincent. Since then, they've had nothing but functionaries for the owners,
And
starting
isn't
with Selig
Manfred
and
on
going
his
to,
last?
Yeah, he's getting to the end of it.
Right. So you're going to have a new commissioner, a new CBA, and what they want is a new TV rights deal.
Good luck, Rob. I think it's the right direction for Major League Baseball. January 2029 is Rob Manfred's last month as commissioner, so he could
this
get
might
it
be
done.
his legacy
This is his
thing, where
Yeah,
this is
his
what
thing.
gets fixed by the time you get out. And the other thing about that too is RSNs have not been. They've essentially not worked now, a few times. So I'm not exactly sure how that works for whoever's taking them on. I guess if you're going to ESPN, like we were just talking about in the break, you're going to maybe ESPN Plus. You're going to some like streaming entity that is, whether it's MLB or someone else that they're selling it to, that is then allowing you to buy direct to consumer. And I guess that's how you do it. I don't really know.
All I know is that if Rob Manfred gets this done, he will have thrilled the fans with his incredible performance, and it'll be really well done. All right, let's take a break. It is Silly Games time, gang. It's time to play the match game. It's our favorite segment of the week. We're about to assemble the All-Star Celebrity Panel and get the match game going. That means we need 2 contestants on the line to play the match game. Go head-to-head. One of you will win and be qualified for our end-of-the-month grand prize drawing, a 2-night stay at Westgate, Las Vegas, 2 tickets to see Soul of Motown, and a $150 food and beverage credit. So give us a call right now. 833-288-0973 is our number. 833-288-0973. Give us a ring during the break. We'll play the match game next on The Fan. The Westgate Las Vegas Resort and Casino features newly designed premier rooms, part of their $70 million room renovations. Home of legendary Las Vegas fun. The award-winning Soul of Motown is a high-energy concert-style musical tribute celebrating Motown legends, a must-see show during your Las Vegas vacation getaway. Tickets are available at westgateresorts.com. Or, if you happen to be Hector or Judith, we've got 2 night stay, Westgate, $150 food and beverage credit, and tickets to see this great show, Soul of Motown. A chance to qualify for our end of the month grand prize drawing. The only way to do it today is to win the match game. Get ready to match the stars. Annie Heilbrunn.
Hello.
The Emperor of Scrabination, Matt Scraby.
Hello.
On the red, Greg.
Hi.
Braden Suprennan.
What's up?
And I'm your host, Gene Rayburn. Welcome to Match Game 97.3, where you can win big money and prizes by matching the stars. Today, as we mentioned, your prize up for grab is a qualification for our end-of-the-month grand prize drawing for a 2-night stay at Westgate Las Vegas, 2 tickets to Soul of Motown, $150 food and beverage credit. Phone lines are open. That's official now.
It's a foul on Scraby, his first personal.
Oh, what did he do?
Drop
What the
pen.
heck just happened?
Did you drop the pen?
The Scravenators are going to come after you.
What
I know.
happened? You get
You got your first
Yeah.
personal foul. did
Yeah.
You just got whistled for a foul.
You got
Okay,
whistled for a
all right.
foul.
We do have a foul system here on the show.
Yes, new foul system on the show.
5 and you're out. Try to make it through the segment.
Please. That's right.
Don't Lagoon Guath your
Don't
way
get
out of
teed
here
up.
and foul out quick.
That's
okay?
right.
All right, let's stay locked in. All right, contestant number 1 on the phone today is Judith in San Diego. Hi, Judith. Welcome to the match game.
Hi. Thank you very much.
Oh, it's great to have you here, Judith. Tell us just a little bit about yourself before we play.
Well, this is my first time calling in. I've been listening to the fans for about a year now since the Padres have been on the run. Great show. Go Padres. I'm running around San Diego and working, and now I'm playing this game.
Love it, Judith.
That's right.
That was outstanding. Judith, today you are taking on Hector in San Diego. Hi, Hector. Welcome to the match game.
Good afternoon, guys.
Good afternoon to you, sir. Tell us a little bit about yourself, please.
I'm a proud father of 3 kids. I'm a truck driver and a diehard Padres fan.
Love it, man.
Nice.
Okay.
Great. Well done. That's a really well done example when we ask you to tell us a little bit about yourself. Perfectly done. All right. Here's how the match game is played. It's very simple. It's played in 2 rounds. In each round, each of you will get 1 question apiece. When I read the question, We'll be offering it to the panel. You will sit silently and think of your best answer as the panel writes down theirs. Then I'll come back, read you the same question, get your answer, and we will compare it to the panel. Every time you match, you get a point. At the end of 2 rounds and potentially a tiebreaker, whomever has the most points is going to be qualified for the end of the month grand prize drawing. I wish you both best of luck. Now, Judith, you called in first. You are contestant number 1. So you get the option in round 1. Would you like question A or would you like question B?
Question B.
Question B it is. And is he... Can you get that pen off? Holy cow.
I will say it's difficult.
Squeaky pen syndrome over there. For On the Red Greg.
What?
There's medication for that.
I'm ready now.
Okay.
Whoa.
As a...
Foul on Craig.
He gets a foul right there.
Very personal.
Might be.
First personal
Hold
foul
on my head.
on Greg and Craig.
Fair enough. All right.
13th foul of the segment.
As we begin the show, a quick reminder that all characters appearing inside Match Game 97.3 are entirely fictitious creations, and any resemblance to anybody living or dead is 100% coincidental. Okay, here we go. Question B, round 1. Panelists, lock in.
Locked.
Locked.
Stadium Sam.
Locked.
Stadium Sam said, I'm not telling you the field's filled with sand, but instead of cleats, you might want to wear blank. Stadium Sam said, I'm not telling you the field is filled with sand instead of grass, but instead of cleats, you might want to wear blank. Panelists are coming up with their best answer.
Done.
Done.
They tell me verbally that they're done, and then we come back to Judith and get hers. Judith, Stadium Sam said, I'm not telling you the field's filled with sand instead of grass, but instead of cleats, you might want to wear
Hiking boots.
hiking boots. Okay.
All right.
It's
Okay.
a great answer because then you're protected. However,
You are
I
protected.
went with flip-flops.
Flip-flops for the sand. Yes, for the
Almost
sand.
said flip flop.
I went flip flops too.
Oh, that's 2.
I went flippy
Yeah.
floppy.
Flippy floppies would have been 3, and
I went with flip flops.
flip-flops would have been 4.
Has that ever happened?
don't think
where
so.
someone swept?
No.
Where we've all understood the assignment.
You all
Yeah.
understood the
Except
assignment.
for Judith, apparently.
Unfortunate. Unfortunate.
It's hard to just pop into this game. It's taken us like a year to get to this point.
That's a great point.
True.
It's very fair. It's very fair. Got to get the rhythm. Got to
Yes.
feel the
Yeah.
rhythm. Rhythm is a dancer.
That's a
Cool ratings.
that's an uncontested
brain
3 that
space.
she just missed right there.
Wide open corner 3.
Oh, poor Judith.
Off the rim. Okay. That means it's Hector's turn. Hector, stay right there on hold. Here we go with question A, round 1. Silly Scraby has the worst luck.
How bad is his luck, Craig?
He found the pot at the end of the rainbow,
Nice.
but instead of gold, the pot was filled with blank.
Oh man, there's only one answer for this.
I know.
Silly Scraby's got the worst luck. He found the pot at the end of his rainbow, but the pot was filled with blank.
Done.
Okay, I'll say it in this way.
Ready.
Okay, ready.
Okay. Here we go to Hector. Hector, it's your turn. Silly Scraby has the worst luck. He found the pot at the end of his rainbow, but the pot was filled with...
Man, this is tough. I wish I was listening to his podcast in the evenings, but I'm gonna just say, well, rotten food. I don't know. It's just tough. I don't know.
Rotten food.
Rotten
food. That's a good
food.
answer.
The rotten food.
This
Is
is-
Annie
this
ever
one
going to
is-
tell anybody that they had a bad
I
answer?
mean, I feel bad for a lot of these callers. This was a
Every
very
answer, she says, great
subjective
answer.
question in which I went with rocks.
Rocks.
I
got
got
a
a
rock.
Snickers. I got a Kit Kat. I got a rock.
I didn't know how to say this on the radio, but human waste, I was thinking.
I said brick.
Oh, bricks.
Lucky's poop.
Oh, my dog's
He found some
waste.
Lucky Charms there.
Oh,
Wow.
That would have been good.
That would have been
delicious,
awesome.
yeah.
At least you could pour some milk in there,
Yeah.
Scrapes. Had yourself a breakfast.
Well, that's,
I would've
you would have
loved
to
that.
find the milk, though.
That's fair.
and then
No
you would
milk
say,
allowed.
well, this is just great, everybody.
That's just
Well,
great.
this is just great.
Can you show everyone your Scrape merchandise?
Yeah, that's scrape merch.
Yes.
Available for purchase?
It is. You have to actually buy it.
Where
He's
can
not
I
giving you one
find
for
this
free.
great merch?
That's a personal foul for shameless plugs.
I was walked into the shameless plug.
That's fair.
Personal foul, the shameless
Let's call a
plug.
timeout to review. We're going to
Yeah.
say successful review.
Yep. Fouls on Greg. Second personal.
Foul's always on Greg.
Fair enough. Okay,
question.
so at the end of round 1, 0-0. Okay. Hector, you are contestant B, so in round 2, you get the choice. Would you like question A or question B?
Question A, please.
Question A it is. You're back on hold. Panelists, here we go. The old lady in the shoe. And by the way, these are straight from Match Game 76. Just to let you know.
Greg watched this film last night.
I watched my film.
Try.
The old lady in the shoe said it's rough raising a bunch of kids in a shoe. Last week, the whole family came down with blank. The old lady in the shoe says it's rough raising a bunch of kids in a shoe. Last week, the whole family came down with blank.
Done.
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 Ready.
Don't
All
overthink
right.
it.
All right. Back to you, Hector. Here we go. The old lady in the shoe said it's rough raising a bunch of kids in a shoe. Last week, the whole family came down with
Foot fungus? I don't know.
athlete's foot.
Yes.
Yes.
I like that answer.
What
I
is
like
his
that
name?
answer too, Hector.
Hector. Foot fungus.
There it is. That's a match.
Athlete's foot.
That's a match.
Athlete's foot.
Is a third match.
Athlete's foot.
Is a fourth match. Super match.
That was incredible.
Super match, Hector. Hector, you're up 4-0. Judith, all that means is that you need to sweep the panel to force a tie.
Yeah.
I think it's possible on this question, guys.
I mean, we're all on the
Okay.
same page twice today.
Lock in. Here
I'm
we
locked.
go.
We're all locked. Is Judith locked?
Judith,
go,
lock
Judith.
She
in,
needs to
Judith.
lock in.
Here we go. There was a landslide at Mount Rushmore.
Slide brought
Oh, no.
down.
It happened when George Washington blanked.
Wait, what?
There was a landslide. There was a landslide at Mount Rushmore. It happened when George Washington blanked.
Done.
Oh, my.
I feel like it
Done.
goes one of two ways, probably.
Ready.
Done.
All right.
Ready for Andy to say great answer.
Here we go. Here we go, Judith. What do you
Let's go,
think?
Judith.
There was a landslide at
Oh
Mount
my God, I'm
Rushmore.
sitting here thinking about, did George Washington do this or what?
Yeah. What did he
I
do?
either got when he lied or he chopped down the cherry tree. Let's go with
Oh, no.
when he chopped down the cherry tree.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
She's not locked in.
Well, Judith.
Where's the great answer, Annie? She can't say. Great answer.
It is. She's just thinking. You have to get into a different
I
mind
know.
space on
You
this
do.
game.
You do.
Sneezed.
Don't
Yeah.
worry.
Don't worry, Judith. This is not a
Because
you problem.
the rocky face did sneeze, therefore the avalanche.
I started writing down chopping down a cherry tree, but I wrote down sneeze.
Right.
Sneezed.
Sorry, Judy.
Sneezed. Oh, let's see if you would have forged the tie.
No, you would have
Oh.
sneezed.
And that means Hector is today's winner.
Call back for another game, Judith.
Congratulations, Hector.
Good job, Hector.
Great job, man. Well done. Stay on hold there, please. We'll get your information during the break. Judith, it was a lot of fun having you on the show. We invite you back. Call in for any other program, any other silly game. We'll make sure to get you on. Thank you.
What does
For
Hector
playing.
win?
It's qualified for the end of the month
Qualified for
drawing.
Vegas.
Oh, right.
Motown.
Yeah, Vegas.
Motown.
On the Red
Oh,
Greg.
man.
Tell them where they can hear you.
Oh, on 1037 KSON Country Fest. Tickets for sale right now at KSON.com. March
Put the
22nd.
fries in the bag, Greg.
Greg.
It's Gravy at 2. We got to go. Bye. 104 on the Fan. Welcome back, everybody. Final hour for your Wednesday get-together of Annie and Elsten. And a reminder that today is our 15-hour broadcast day on the Fan, because we've got Gwen and Chris coming up 2 to 6. Then a voyage inside the borders of Scrabe Nation.
What is happening in Scrabe Nation today?
Get your passport ready for a trip inside Scrabe Nation.
Need the Zombie Nation.
Yes.
So
Make sure you get your
Zombie.
vaccines in order before
Scraby.
you enter Scrabe Nation.
Scraby Nation.
And that will be 6 to 7 p.m. I think they should rename the show Scrabe Nation. I think
So do
that's
I.
I think so too. Scraby shows. Yeah.
the
It's
Scraby
not
Show.
Scraby
No,
Nation.
Scraby Chronicles. Nice adjustment. Not as good.
Scraby Nation.
Final form. Scrabe Nation. We
Scrabe
accept.
Nation. You had
We're
to
going to go
workshop it a
Scrabe
little.
Nation.
Yeah,
we love
yeah.
it.
A little storyboarding, you know.
We
Yeah,
accept
yeah.
it. We'll roll with it. Scrabe Nation, 6 to 7. And then, you thought the broadcast night was over. You're wrong. Sammy Levitt has been spending the entire week building up 2 hours of baseball material, and it took the whole week because it's been a slow-ass week in baseball. But he's come up with 2 hours of baseball for you inside San Diego baseball, 7 to 9 p.m. tonight, with Italian Paul Frank Marchese hanging out. It's going to be Sam Levitt. So,
I think he and Scraby have a crossover too.
well, yeah, Scrabe, every time he sees Sam,
He's like,
he's, get in here, man.
come on in.
I'm all by myself. So it's really like a 2-hour, 20-minute show for Sammy. But Sammy, you could ask him about the weather, and 20 minutes later, he's going to have a great answer that left you transfixed. So stay tuned. 15-hour day from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. tonight on 97.3 The Fan.
Hey, we had another trade go down in baseball.
What?
Talk to me.
It did involve the Angels.
What?
It involves the Angels
The
again.
Angels are all over it.
On it. Cubs make another trade today, Jesse Rogers, with the Angels for catcher Matt Thaiss.
Okay.
For cash considerations to make room, they DFA'd pitcher Trey Wingenter.
No, the
Poor-
old friend,
Poor Beaker.
Trey Wigginter, on
Trey
the market.
Wingenter.
He and Patrick Wisdom sharing beers in Wrigleyville right now.
Bring him home.
Just tipping a cold one and saying what could have been. So much for our Cubs' career.
Trey Wingenter.
Yeah, also
Sharing a
the,
PBR together.
the Cubbies acquired Eli Morgan from the Guardians a little bit earlier today and DFA'd Patrick Wisdom. So in your infinite wisdom, if you choose to sign Patrick, you can now. He's a free agent. A couple other the stories that we covered earlier in the program. MLB awards can't hurt us anymore. They can't give us second place ribbons anymore. It's all over now. Mike Schilt completed our second place legacy with a second place finish in the National League Manager of the Year award yesterday. Pat Murphy somehow got 27 of 30 votes, and I didn't really get that part, to be honest with you. Like,
Yeah, I thought it would be closer. Just like with Jackson Merrill. I thought it would be just closer in the voting.
yeah. I thought actually that, to be honest with you, I thought Paul Skeens would get 20 to 23 votes. I thought he would, just because of everything we talked about the last 2 days. This one I thought could have really gone either way. And honestly, most of the arguments for Murphy, you could make, I think, more convincingly for Schilt. However, once the Brewers GM got Executive of the Year over AJ a week or two ago at the GM meetings, I just thought the writing was on the wall for this one. And there's some weird thing in the National Writers' psyche, Annie, where, well, and here's the funniest part about it. What I was about to say was there's some funny thing in the National Writers' psyche where if your team cuts payroll, but you have a decent year, that somehow you're a hero. Like you've done it the right way. You've spent less on players, but you still won, X number of games. But the Padres cut their
They
payroll
cut
by
90
$100
million,
million.
100 million, yeah.
So, apparently it's like, well, there's levels to these things, gang. You guys cut your payroll, but you've still got Manny Machado. You're not allowed.
It does appear to be like a do more with less kind of an award, like who did the most with the least sort of thing.
Yeah.
I don't really know either. It's very subjective as we've talked about with these awards. But yeah, the irony there is the Padres also cut, $100 million in payroll, and but maybe they cut more. The Brewers, maybe they're counting those big contracts as a plus side, even though they weren't done this last year. So a plus side in the finance column for the Padres.
I think if you asked Mike Schilt in a candid moment whether he'd like to compete all year against the Cardinals and the Pirates and the Reds, or whether you'd like to compete against the Dodgers, the Giants, and the Diamondbacks, it's pretty damn obvious that the NL Central is the worst division in the National League. And yet, the Brewers picked up all the awards for, winning the division and then immediately conking out in the playoffs in the opening round. Whatever. Like I said earlier in the show, I completely accept now. This is not the legacy we wanted for the 2024 Padres. But in the end, we got the second place ribbon. And so once the second place ribbon, county fair ribbon is there on your board, that's that. That's what you are. And that's what we were. We were the second best team in the NL West. We were the second best team in the NL. We were the second best team in Major League Baseball. We had the most second team all MLB players. We finished second in Manager of the Year. We finished second in Rookie of the Year. And here we are, the Padres of 2024. Now take one step higher. Take one step higher. It's going to be hard. No one said it's going to be easy. 2024 was an incredible chance for this franchise, an incredible chance. Arguably the best chance, actually, I think inarguably, the best chance in franchise history, because as great as the 98 team was, there was a 114-win Yankees team waiting for you on the other side that won 11 in the playoffs, wound up winning 125 games. In 1984, when this team improbably made it to its first World Series, one of the greatest teams in the American League in the 20th century, the 1984 Detroit Tigers, a team that started 35-5 on the year, was waiting for them. Inevitable teams, historic teams that had inevitability behind them. The 2024 Dodgers had no inevitability behind them. They could have lost in the first round to San Diego, and they darn well almost did until those last games completely unraveled on San Diego.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to make it for some interesting matchups to come. This National League West, I don't think is going to get any easier. I think it's going to remain competitive, remain tough. The good news for the Padres is exactly what you just said. Like, you get to hang your hat on the fact that you're right up there. You take another step or you capitalize in a few other places, and you're not in a rebuilding year. You're not in a year that, that you've got to try to figure out your club. Like, you know what you have. You know where you need to improve. Guys can look at themselves this offseason and try to take some growth in some of those areas. It's not going to be easy, and no team stays the same. Even if you brought back the entire roster the exact same from last year to this year, you wouldn't necessarily have the same results. Guys get better, guys get worse. There's injuries, There's regression, there's progression. You never know. But at the same time, I think that the Padres feel like they're in a pretty good spot in terms of their foundation. And now they kind of do also. They have to get more with less a little bit this year too, in the sense that a lot of their money is going to be tied up into their long-term contracts, and they've got to make those other needs that they have in their roster. They've got to make the dollar stretch for those. That's
right. And in 2024, the Padres had very similar constraints. The difference was they had an avenue to address the constraints, which was the trade market, whereby A.J. Preller, first off, had the best single thing you could trade almost ever in Juan Soto. Probably one of the top 10 things in the history of baseball to ever have been moved. Even a year of Juan Soto's service was worth, five different players, several of whom were incredibly important to San Diego's future. Then he had the ability, furthermore, to look to a reasonably flush farm system and to drain it. To just pull the plug on that farm system and drain out 12 of the top 15 prospects in the system. Well, those avenues aren't there anymore. You can't trade Juan Soto, and you can't drain your farm again beyond the top two guys who we've said you don't want to drain at all. So it's going to be a very different winter for San Diego. They either have to spend through their issues or they're going to have to cut bone. They're going to have to move players that were integral to the team's success in 2024 and try and reconfigure and get back to a similar place a year later. It's a tricky road, without question, for A.J. Preller to run. And the only thing I would probably recommend to the listening audience is to exhibit a measure of patience because San Diego isn't playing at the top of the market. I think tomorrow we'll get into a little bit of the tiers list for free agency. I don't know if the Padres can play in like the top 3 tiers of free agency, to be honest with you. The elite level, the Soto, Snell, Corbin Burns, Alex Bregman level, obviously not, right? But I even think the level that includes guys like Ha-Seong Kim, the Padres aren't playing in that sandbox either. They're going to have to find good, low-cost solutions and combine it with potentially trades that change the configuration.
Yeah, they're going to have to get creative, and we've seen AJ Preller do it so many times. But I would agree. I think at this point, you're not only waiting for that next wave that you have, whether it's the 2 players we spoke about earlier in the show with Ethan Salas and Leo Dallas DeVries, some pitchers that they brought on in the draft this offseason who won't be ready for a while, but they're going to be looking at these guys as how many of these are we going to trade? How many are we going to keep? How are we going to bridge what Eric Grupner has already talked about, which is having a more balanced roster in the sense of low-cost guys that we bring up through the farm system or that we find on low-cost deals versus, included with some of our other big-name players who are already part of this team for years to come. I don't know exactly where that lands them. I think that at least this year, I do believe what you're saying. I would agree with you that they're probably not in those first few tiers. They're probably looking for more like, 2-3 year deals, probably like mid-range deals, and then some flyers, some people that they can either bring back that they're going to hope for having a year like they had last year, this year, or some people that they find that they take a chance on, as we saw with guys like Seth Lugo, guys that maybe, Michael Wacha, guys that, maybe baseball has said, hey, we're not sure if you've got it anymore. And AJ Preller is over there, or Jeremiah Estrada, who the team just kind of abandoned with the Cubs and said, don't really know how to use you.
Right.
They're going to have to find a few of those. And the good news is they can. Tougher news is it doesn't always work out, but it doesn't always work out with any player.
Yeah. Who's the next guy in Japan? Who's the next guy in Korea? Never mind Sasaki. Sasaki's the golden goose. Everyone will pursue Sasaki. Sasaki's the pot at the end of the rainbow, dating back to Match Game. So we won't let Scraby pursue Sasaki. We'll go ahead and let Preller take care of that. But yeah, he's the goal. He's the one that's the complete outlier to the situation, unlike anyone else. Back in the regular battle, back in the regular field of play, the Padres are going to have to be creative. And to answer Charles' question in the chat, good way to finish the segment. I really don't get the restraints. Why not take a risk and go all in and go over the luxury tax? San Diego is the 8th biggest market in the country. San Diego is not the 8th biggest market in the country. 8th biggest
population, my guy.
They're the 8th biggest population.
It's not market size.
That
difference.
Has no bering. No bearing.
There's a difference.
The spending that happened in previous years, the last few years, was not. I know everyone hates hearing it. It truly wasn't sustainable. At the same time, can the Padres push their envelope a little bit more? And can they find some spots where they can maybe put down some more dollars, give AJ Preller a higher budget? By maybe even $5 or $10 million, is kind of what you're looking at, or a few million or whatever. That seems like it would be entirely possible after being able to go to the postseason and having record attendance for the park's history, night in and night out. So hopefully they do. Hopefully they're on the higher end of payroll. And if they do end up going over the luxury tax, it really won't hurt them if they go over that first apron, at least if they don't go over it too much. I don't know that they will. From everything I've heard, they're not planning on doing that. So it's going to be interesting to see how does that money get spent. It is, though, not a big market, and I know everyone hates hearing that too. It's just not.
And it never will be.
It's not even sometimes a medium market.
It will never be a big market for many reasons. You have a desert east of you. You have an ocean west of you. You have an international border south of you. And you have the major market in L.A. above you. There's no other market like San Diego. It will never be a big market. And people need to understand this is not an insulting thing. Like we're small time down here, even though sometimes we are. It just will never be a big market. It won't. Unless you start taking over Los Angeles or you build a ton of buildings and live out in Imperial County and suck that in as part of your market too. It will never be a big market. You're boxed into a corner here in San Diego.
Yeah, you want to annex Tijuana?
Yeah, go ahead.
Begin the Second Spanish-American War. That'd be a way to grow our market.
Yeah.
And
That'd
think
be
about
about the only way.
And all the other markets that have grown, they have all this surrounding area that they can expand to with people showing up. Denver and Dallas, and
Right.
some places in the middle of the country. But with LA up north of you and all the other things around you that don't have people living there, unless you're going to start building houses in the Pacific Ocean,
Right.
you will never. San Diego will never be a big market.
Yeah, and it's a good question. I think it can be confusing sometimes. I think this is kind of what you see sometimes with the stadiums as well, and like the suites, and how if you're in LA, you have so many Fortune 500 companies, you have so many resources to tap into to try to get some money coming in. San Diego does have. I mean, there's no doubt about it. You look at the biotech, you look at a lot of really high important industries that are happening in this city, but they're not always coming down and buying up suites and buying up sponsorships. There's kind of like at least this is what's talked about, is there's kind of like even the signage that you see there, there's typically not a number that they go way over.
Well, they don't have enough. There's
because
not enough.
there's not a draw with advertising with that because of all the points that were just mentioned.
There's not enough besides like Qualcomm and some of the like there's a couple, but there's not enough to fund the town when it comes to those things. Like LA's got 12 million people. Not all 12 million people have to be Dodger fans.
Right.
Right.
And you only need some companies or some that want to rename the stadium. Like in the case of Houston and Minute Maid Park, and the air conditioning company is now the name of the stadium, but
Carl Worthington need him back.
Yeah, exactly. That doesn't mean that I think that you have to give up. I just certainly hopefully there's smart people that are on the scene and trying to make the most of their dollars and make the most of international dollars as well, however far that can stretch. But
right.
I think the years that we saw previously were not what I would expect, at least going forward.
And we're under no obligation to carry water for the organization. Like, you've heard me say 1,000 times, and I'll say it again. I want the Padres to spend over the line.
And they had to
year.
take on debt to spend over the line those past years.
Yeah, I honestly expect them to spend over the line in 2025 in order to have the best team possible on the field. And if they're not going to do it, then Preller has to perform a triple Lindy off of the top diving board in twist and turn and contort in every fashion possible in order to get this team to where it needs to be.
And hopefully there will be some kind of, discussion on that and stories written, because I do understand from the fans' perspective, you see costs go up, you see your season ticket prices go up, you see the places packed night after night. You see them go to the postseason. I can understand from a fan's perspective why then, hey, well, let's throw some more money into the pot here,
Yeah.
And so, and I agree that that's valid. How much more, I guess, remains to be seen.
Yeah, if you want, the only way that you're going to ever get the team to do what you want them to do is you talk with your wallet. That's what that's for every organization and for every team, right?
Yeah,
the
right
fans
now
are doing
they're
their
sold
part,
out. They're
spending
sold out
their
night
money,
after night,
right? It's
right.
like if you're not going to do your part, then fans are going to be like, all right, well, see ya. I'm not interested in making the sacrifice of thousands upon thousands of dollars when we could barely afford to live sometimes. A lot of people in this town.
All right, let's take a break. We're overdue for it, but when we come back, we had missed a little piece of that MLB network story, the whole idea of MLB trying to nationalize their ratings. So we're going to go back and go ahead and clean out that cabinet when we come back. Annie and Elsten working our way toward Gwynn and Chris at the top of the hour on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. This hour on 97.3 The Fan is brought to you by Buffalo Wild Wings is football. Hey, San Diego sports fans, head to your local Buffalo Wild Wings and try their new maple chipotle sauce for rich maple sweetness and a mild smoky chipotle heat, or for a bit of a kick, check out the new Cajun sauce for a rich blend of spicy and tangy pepper sauce. Stop by your San Diego B-Dubs or order now for takeout and delivery. Buffalo Wild Wings, go. Craig closes Daily Liners application. Done. All done. All right. We talked before the top of the hour and before the match game. We talked in our second segment, 12 o'clock, about the seismic changes that are coming to Major League Baseball's local television streaming rights, MLB's aspirations to nationalize what are currently local revenues and to bundle everything in a package, and some of the challenges that are being presented to Major League Baseball in that regard. 2028 is the target date for what Rob Manfred wants. There's a couple reasons for that date. We did mention that his contract ends January 2029, so that's pretty convenient. But also, 2028 is when, Annie, all the league's national deals are set to expire with Turner Sports, with Fox, and with ESPN. Understanding that ESPN is actually threatening to opt out at the end of this year.
Yeah, ESPN, we had, there were playoffs in San Diego, and I did not put those on, but they were occurring. And there were several ESPN reporters in attendance who talked about how baseball really hasn't been a big thing at ESPN for a while. They have not been putting a lot of importance on it. They have been perhaps, trying to get out of this contract or end this contract that they have for Sunday Night Baseball. They have put a lot of other sports, even things like F1, in front of their focus on baseball. So baseball to them just isn't giving them the revenue that they want, and it's also not just giving them the eyeballs that they want. Now, it's a chicken or an egg thing, right? If you put more into it, maybe you would get those eyeballs. But they've essentially cut way back on their baseball importance on the pecking level at ESPN. So this, though, for the regional, for the local media, it sounds like they feel like that would be maybe a revenue plus.
Right.
Sort of thing.
That's actually part of the article, and we're looking at Evan Drellich's article in The Athletic about this. One of the things it says is that Jimmy Pitaro, the president of ESPN, is both threatening to opt out and is also interested in being part of the local rights solution. Okay. But I think there's some important context here, and it's very easy to see it's happening in New York City at the MLB front offices. MLB Network's president, Bill Morningstar, sent an email to employees last week announcing buyouts of current contracts, right? Now, we don't know whether that means Tom Verducci or Dan Plesac or Harold Reynolds or, name your guy, DeRosa, whoever is getting bought out.
It's on-air talent or is it behind the scenes?
Could be both.
It could
Probably
be behind the
would
scenes.
be both.
I would think so, because usually in these types of situations, you want people who are making the most to take some of these buyouts, because they obviously are the biggest strain on their finances.
So what they are talking about at MLB Network, here's part of a quote from the email. This should sound really familiar in corporate jargon. He says, "Unfortunately, the business side of our industry continues to be challenging, specifically the decline of our largest revenue stream, the traditional linear cable and satellite bundles. Everyone is cord cutting. They're stopping paying for cable. They're stopping paying for DirecTV. The way that networks made money was they got those carriage services to pay a huge amount or to pay X per subscriber. Like, okay, ESPN is $6 per subscriber, or whatnot. And now they're seeing that money is just dropping, giving you half, quarter what you used to have. So, as such, this president of MLB Network says the network is right-sizing.
I hate that term.
It's the worst term.
Super lame.
It's the worst term. And here's what Rob Manfred had to say about it, Commissioner of Baseball. He said, quote, "MLB Network is like every other cable property. It needs to be more efficient. Long term, we think the network remains significant to our media strategy because it's a hub for processing content. There's a variety of different things that could happen. It may just produce content that becomes part of a 30-club digital offering. To the extent that you want to keep a linear property alive, we haven't decided exactly which one of these is going to happen, but you could imagine a world where people who stay in the bundle go to the MLB Network and they get pre- and post-game programming all day long until their team in their market plays, and at that point in time, you get the in-market game, and then you go back to pre- and post-game programming, and later in the evening, you get kind of a national outside-the-market broadcast."
So that would be you're watching Major League MLB Network, and then it goes to your local stuff, correct? That's how I interpreted that.
I think so, but I think it would be like, okay, it's 3:30. Here's the Yankees pregame show.
Right, that's
now
your
it's
national
4.
game.
Here's the Braves pregame show.
Or it's not even their own pregame show. It's someone from a universal spot sending out to hear from reporters who are in their home city or road city that they're there from the game.
They could be like NFL Today on CBS, right?
Right.
Like
or what's
their pregame show that they do on CBS before Fox.
So you're
on Sundays.
Right. Let's go out to Lauren Shahadi.
She's
in
covering
New York.
the game.
Or let's go out to Mike Pomerantz. He's in. Yeah, exactly. He's going to get us ready for the six. What, I don't even know what time it is anymore.
6:40.
6:40 game with the Padres and the Rockies.
I actually could see that more, where it's like they go, and then if you're in the local market, when that game starts, you get that game, right? And
because
the
you're
same
saving
thing,
money because you already have those reporters.
Yeah,
in
you're
place.
just doing one show, right? So
Right.
now I don't have to pay to do
That's
the
right.
pre and post for all these different teams. I could just do one national one, and then you go into the TV, you go into the game, right? And then if you live in San Diego, you would get the Padres game. If you lived in LA, you'd get the Dodgers game, yada, yada, yada. And then you'd get the post-game show of said game, which sometimes they do, like on ESPN, when they have all the college games going on, that crew does the pre and post for every single game that day, right? And so they have all these segments where they do, they do the post-game show for whatever game, and then they talk about these other, games that they didn't do or whatever. But I could see them totally do that. That's what ESPN does, as Fox does, CBS, TNT. You could get the same deal as TNT does for their, inside the NBA. I mean, that could be your MLB version of that.
And Nate asked in the chat, would they do blackouts? No, I think the whole point of this is that they do away with the blackouts.
Yeah, they're eliminating
Correct.
blackouts.
But whenever a team, so when a team went from Bally's or FanDuel, however you want to, for the Padres, Bally's, when a team went from them to MLB Media, money was cut. There was a lot of money cut in the maybe not necessarily in the game.
The team had to pay for it.
Exactly. So you can imagine that unless, depending on, I guess, what kind of deal they get, and this is still, it's not that far away, but it's, a lot can happen between now and 2028 or 2029. I would think that it would be a cutting and a slimming down of resources, with the game being the thing that I think that MLB and that the money makers look at. The game is the most important thing. You don't really sell ads for the pre and post game, at least if you're not in a major market. So the game is what's bringing you money. So it's kind of like the ancillary programming around it is sort of just like, well, let's just kind of check that box.
Right. And instead of investing in it and creating all these local shows, getting 0 to very low ratings for all of them,
Yes.
And then trying to repackage them, they just do away with all of them.
All right,
make a
at that
national
point,
bill.
maybe you're just like, hey, the Padres produced a package on so-and-so, and so we'll just
Exactly.
pull that and we'll play that, and then we're going to go over to the Rays who have a package
That's
on
what I
this.
literally think is
and,
gonna happen.
And so it's almost like the
Like
team
Padres
is...
POV runs on MLB Network.
Yes, or like segments run, like little like snippets or team produced media. I think that can be good and bad. On one hand, you've got team produced media and you have access to players and maybe you've got that already built in. But on the other hand, there is a cachet to a Manny Machado going on with someone who played the game and is a Hall of Famer or sits down with him, and I don't think that's going to go away completely. But the other part of it too, and I mean, I say this with a grain of salt because MLB Network is going to skew positive anyways.
Sure.
You lose a lot of journalism. Like you lose a lot of like storytelling that is not very vanilla, very team friendly.
Bingo.
Very, and you're not getting a ton of that anyways, by the way, at this point. But unless it's happening on like ESPN or something like that. But you kind of lose that avenue.
Right. Well, as soon as everything's in-house, then you're just creating your own reality.
Yeah, and Adam says, would Don and Mud still be broadcasting? Yeah, none of that
Yeah.
goes away, I don't think.
Right,
Like,
right.
Whoever's your
Employed by this
broadcasters are your
team.
broadcasters, right?
I think they're going to keep a lot of the same show. I think they're just going to have their usual schedule.
They're
and
just gonna
then,
feed in
and then
and
what they're
out.
going to do is they're going to give you multiple games, right? So the different windows. And if you think about it,
Yeah.
I mean, there's literally from like 10 in the morning on Wednesdays and Thursdays specifically, and on Sundays. I mean, you're going to have games all day because you have day games on the East Coast, and that feeds into the
Sure.
then it feeds into the teams that are playing night games, and then it feeds into the West Coast night games, and then whenever your window is for your team, that's when you'll get your game, and then you'll get the other games too. And if you get rid of the blackouts, if you're Major League Baseball, you created a channel where you're playing mostly games, and then you only have a couple of shows that you'll probably turn into like ESPN. Back in the days where they just had SportsCenter run, right? So you'd have one show at this time, rerun it a couple of times, and then all night you can run quick pitch, and you save tons of money on talent fees. You don't have to worry about producing pre and post game shows for every single market.
Right.
You can just have your centralized MLB Tonight. That will be everybody's pregame show, and that'll be that. Honestly, that's what most people I think do that have MLB Network. I mean, for me, if I'm watching the Padre game, I'm watching MLB Network before the game, and then I'm watching the Padres game, and then I'm back to MLB Network for quick pitch after the game. I mean, why eliminate the middleman of flipping back and forth? Just have it all on one channel.
It's all coming. It's all coming. Changes are coming. And don't forget, and this is the button to the segment as we go to break, a new collective bargaining agreement must be agreed upon before this.
Yes, that will have to be agreed upon, and you'll have to get a taker to bring on whatever package that MLB shops eventually. Yeah, right. You're gonna have to
Oh, of
get
course,
right,
yes.
right. Like you're gonna have to
Yes.
get Apple TV or Roku or Amazon or ESPN or MLB Media, whoever it is, to be like, this is worth investing a lot of resources and money in.
Yeah, but when you talk about new revenue sharing, bundling everyone's local revenue and making it national, that means concessions to the large owners. And one of the things that the owners are going to want for all of this is what? A salary cap. The thing that has led to lockouts and strikes every other time that it's been proposed. So,
And the trickle down effect to players. Will the players? I'm not even sure what it is yet, but
Yeah.
will the players accept that? Will they want that? You know?
right. I mean, they're going to
Yeah.
want concessions as well.
Right.
So
They're going to get their game concessions. They're going to get getting paid for the playoffs is probably going to be in there. And, I think it's all going to come down to this. I think they're going to finally put in a salary cap and all of this other stuff to make it happen. And I think, Major League Baseball is just 25 years late on what the NFL's did.
No, I get that. If all that happens and we get to a better MLB world in 2028, that's incredible. But if we really want this stuff, 2026, we're playing half a season at best.
Well,
I'll tell you that right now.
But that was probably a guarantee regardless, just on the last time these two parties have had dealt with each other. But how about this? If you go to the subscription-based model without the big money and sharing and pooling the money together, are these players going to get the same contracts as they're currently getting? The answer is no.
They're already not getting them. Exactly.
Right. The answer is no. I mean, this will be the end of the major contracts. So the deal is it's either salary cap or good luck trying to get anything that you could get because we're going to subscription-based programming, and we already know that some teams aren't going to be able to afford that. To spend on money, and it's going to be like two teams that are going to be able to spend all the money, and if they're not interested in you, you ain't getting any type of contract.
And Manfred already in this article that came out is quoted saying, they always love to use the Padres as the example. Well, the Padres are 40,000 subscribers, but that is so much less than the money coming in from the RSNs. And Manfred says that out loud, so we know that that's the case. And then here's the thing, Braden, this is what I've heard from players and agents. There will be some teams that actually have to cut money. And then there will be teams that say, well, the TV deal, we can't give out those. Like, they really don't, they really could, but they're going to blame it on the TV deal. They're going to say they're going to cry wolf about no money because of the whole TV situation, when in reality, they might be able to spend a little more. But, it kind of gives everyone a crutch to be like, nope, can't spend these big contracts or whatever. And how will that affect the Players Association, right?
Well, the players will never sign off on a salary cap if there's not at least a salary floor.
Right.
So that's probably coming. And the thing is those teams at the top are going to probably have to cut their spending, and the teams at the bottom are going to have to spend a little more. And in the meantime, you're not going to get those Ohtani or Soto or, Manny Machado contracts. They're going to make less. Those guys are going to make less, so the guys at the bottom can make more. And, that's where the greed from the players' side will reel its ugly head when they have their own infighting, because guys like Jackson Merrill that haven't been paid yet are going to be upset with guys like at the top that are making a ton of money and are making all of their money. And it's the big drop-off of salary between the top percentage and the bottom percentage of Major League Baseball.
Let's take our last time out. You've got 7 minutes to call the show right now for our final segment, our call-in program segment thing called Ask Us Anything. Yeah,
Segmenty things.
Segmenty, programmy.
Hey, it's Wednesday, Craig,
Yeah, exactly. I actually fall apart at the very end
You get
of
your
Wednesday.
second wind on Thursday.
Yeah, Thursday morning, I'm ready to go. The end of Wednesday,
Annie's peak is on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Craig falls to a bottomless pit on
just
Wednesdays.
crumbles. Nonetheless, it's time to open the phones. There it is. I mispointed the first time. I had to point again. It's a very specific point. It's
User
Horn
error.
was used a lot
Yeah.
when Greg got fouled.
That's true.
He almost fouled out.
On the red, Greg picked up 3 personal fouls in one match game. It's hard to do. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. If you call in the next 6 minutes, we'll put you on the air. All you need to do is come in with a question. If you're those 2 folks that we left on hold at the end of yesterday, please call back right now. We'll jump you right into the show when we come back. Annie and Elsten wrapping things up next on The Fan. On tomorrow's show, we'll get into some of the tier breakdowns of MLB free agents. What tier can the Padres afford to spend in? We'll get into that tomorrow. Got a couple guest ideas lined up for tomorrow as well. We'll play Mind the Gap tomorrow. Full 4-hour program for you coming up 10 to 2. Right now, we got Magic online. Let's hit the bumper and get to it.
Ooh.
Eight 833-288-0973 is our number. 833-288-0973. Here's Magic in San Diego. Hi, Magic. You're on with Annie and Elsten. Ask us anything, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing really good, guys. Hey, next week's Thanksgiving, so I want to wish each one of you a good Thanksgiving, all right?
And back at you.
You too, Magic.
You too, Magic. Thank you so much.
And I have a question for you guys. With the holidays right around the corner, what is your favorite Christmas classic movie? I'll tell you mine, and I don't think nobody can touch it, and that is the original How the Grinch Stole Christmas. I like to listen to what you guys have to say.
Elf is always a great one.
Elf
like
is
Elf.
mine.
I like the old the Claymate. What's that company? Who's that company that made all these old school movies like Santa Claus Coming to Town?
Yeah.
I love the one of the Heat Miser and the Cold Miser, Heat Miser, and whatever. He's Mr. Heat Miser, he's Mr. Sun. I think that's like Baby New Year or something like that is like their deal. But that one cracks me up every time.
A Christmas Story.
Yeah, it's classic.
The leg lamp.
Yeah,
you'll shoot your eye out.
It's a great one.
The kid sticking his tongue to the flagpole. It's got to be a Christmas
You want to
story.
know what I get into at the holidays? I will watch every Hallmark / Netflix rom-com, holiday rom-com with bad acting.
Queen of
I
Eyewash.
always know how it's going to end.
At
and
her
it
finest.
takes place in some castle. I will say that when I was driving home last night, I saw what stole my heart in Christmas decorations already, and it was a skeleton climbing up a wall with a Santa hat on. Trying to get to the presents. And I thought, you get me, house, you get me, with the Nightmare Before Christmas.
Incredible.
It was great.
Rankin Bass. That's what it is. Rankin
Great
Bass.
call. You know what? One that, by the way, and thank you, Magic. One that I hadn't watched before last year, and my Padres Hot Tub buddies, Chris and Rafi, tuned me into, and I loved Muppet Christmas Carol.
I love it.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
I love all the Muppets.
Oh, you got to
stuff.
watch
Okay.
it.
The Muppets are
You
great.
got to watch it. Muppets Christmas Carol, but
After Night Shift, of course.
Michael Caine is Scrooge.
Oh.
Yes.
And he's just so good as Scrooge. So,
check
big
it out.
ups.
I love all the Muppet stuff.
Yeah, big
In
ups
fact,
on Muppet Christmas
When
Carol.
I was sick in October, I watched the Muppet Haunted Mansion. Classic.
Oh, I bet I would love that.
Oh, so funny.
Let's try out Tom in Oceanside. Hi, Tom. Thanks for calling in. Ask us anything.
Hey, guys. First of all, I want to say don't look like the turkey does and feel stuffed by the time Thanksgiving's over with.
That's right.
And just on a side note here, I miss having a sports talk radio station where we can call in and talk with you guys at any time rather than just special times like this. Has the format changed on that?
Oh, Tom, I mean, look, I appreciate you, man. Appreciate you calling. We have many times opened up the lines at various times. It's not a call-in based show. And I know that previously there was a call-in based show, but we've got a group in here and we've gone through all the research and everything else.
Well, let's stick that in the suggestion box and maybe during the off season open up the lines a
Yeah,
little
we
more.
can do it
Besides,
more. I mean, I always enjoy opening
on
up
this
the lines.
segment, right? Yeah, we're gonna
Get some funny.
put that
funny
into the suggestion
commentary.
box, right?
Well, taken under advisement, Tom.
That's
We
right.
appreciate you. All right, hey, Gwen and Chris is next.